Chapter 309. What is this place? Have we already been transmitted out? Su Yingde got up in shock, and immediately asked. She was wearing a white robe, which combined with her snow-white hair, made her look somewhat illusory. However, coupled with her incomparably beautiful face, it added a bit of poignant beauty to this illusory image. Ning Cheng and Yin Kongchan woke up at the same time. The three of them were not very far from each other. As the dazzling sunlight shone on their bodies, it made the three of them very clear that this was definitely not the hidden mist cemetery, nor was it the space where the geocentric 9-yin essence was stored. Ning Cheng stood up, patted off the fine sand on his body, and looked up at the endless desert. He knew that this was definitely not the place where they had been transmitted out. There was not even a shred of spiritual qi in this place. Not only that, even his sea of consciousness was completely sealed. The true essence in his dantian seemed to have fallen asleep, without even a trace of movement. In other words, Ning Cheng had experienced this kind of feeling for more than 20 years, how could he not be clear about it? When he lived on earth, it was also in this kind of state. There was no spiritual consciousness, no true essence, he was just an ordinary mortal. Yin Kongchan also got up. Her pale yellow robe under the reflection of the sunlight, looked even more refined. We did not get out, and were transmitted to a place even more terrifying than the space we were in. There is no spiritual qi in this place, even our sea of consciousness is sealed, even our true essence cannot be used. In this place, we are just like ordinary mortals. Moreover, Yin Kongchan spoke slowly. Yin Kongchan looked at Ning Cheng and Su Yingde and spoke, moreover, in this place, we need to be like the most ordinary people, running around for food, otherwise one day we will starve to death. Ning Cheng and Su Yingde, who had not felt anything before, immediately felt a burst of hunger after listening to Yin Kongchan's words. Ning Cheng was shocked in his heart. He once again remembered one of the three experiences that Rui Baishan had given him. At any time, there must be a guarantee of survival, and not starve to death. Previously, because of Rui Baishan's experience, he had thought that it was useless to refine some fasting pills, fresh water pills and other things. If they were trapped in this place and could not get out, then how precious would the fasting pills and fresh water pills that they had refined be? How was it useless? Thinking till here, Ning Cheng subconsciously touched his belt. This belt was something that he had specially refined for the hidden mist cemetery. It contained more than 200 fresh water pills, more than 200 fasting pills, as well as a toothbrush, along with a Mitsubishi thorn tied to his calf. In addition, he also refined a cloth bag, some medicinal pills for treating illnesses, some wrist guards, daggers, binoculars, compasses, and other outdoor survival supplies. Unfortunately, these things were all in the cloth bag. At that time, because he felt that he was doing something stupid, he threw the cloth bag into the ring and could not take it out again. This meant that he had refined some things when he had a sense of crisis, but most of these things could not be used. Once again touching his belt, Ning Cheng secretly rejoiced. Fortunately he had not thrown his belt into his ring, otherwise his previous sense of crisis would have been completely useless. Thinking of useless efforts, Ning Cheng once again thought of Rui Baishan, and felt even more horrified in his heart. Suddenly, he discovered that the few meaningless suggestions that Rui Baishan had given him turned out to be quite useful. In his most helpless time, he had chosen to believe in Yin Kongchan, and the result was that Yin Kongchan had really saved him. Later, because he suspected the two of them, Su Yingde and Yin Kongchan's words were directly ignored by him. Wasn't this the other suggestion that Rui Baishan had given him, that is, when necessary, do not fully believe in the friends around you? Coupled with the suggestion to not starve to death, Ning Cheng at this time discovered that Rui Baishan's three suggestions were not only useful, but also very useful. Did Rui Baishan also come to this place? Or did Rui Baishan know that he wanted to come to this place? If it was the latter, then Rui Baishan was simply too terrifying. Yin Kongchan, I want to ask you a question. In my hometown, there is no spiritual qi, and one cannot even cultivate. Moreover, a person's lifespan is also limited. Is this place the same as that place? Ning Qing immediately thought of Earth. Would his spiritual consciousness and true essence be completely sealed when he returned to Earth in the future? Yin Kongchan shook her head. No, these are two completely different places. In a place where one cannot cultivate, one can still circulate one's true essence, stretch out one's spiritual consciousness, and even use magical techniques. It's just that one's cultivation would stagnate. The place we are in, the Grand Palace Master told me that this place is called the Forsaken Land. The Forsaken Land does not have spiritual chi, one cannot use true essence, and one cannot use spiritual consciousness. In this place, any magical techniques are all fake. In this place, whether it is a cultivator, an immortal, or a powerhouse, all of them must be like mortals, running around for survival. Ning Qing remained silent, and did not continue to speak. He was thinking that if he could not get out, then could he use the talisman from the bottom of the Blood River to leave this place? Immediately Ning Qing put aside this idea. He had already thrown the talisman into his ring, and now he could not take out anything from his ring, so what was the point of talking about the talisman? What are you looking at me for? Ning Qing looked up and saw Yin Kongchan and Su Yingde staring at him, and casually asked a question, but soon he understood why the two of them were looking at him. Su Yingde and Yin Kongchan were both core disciples of major academies. Such disciples were trained by their academies from an early age. Even if they went out to gain experience, it was not for survival. In the case of having magical power, of course they could do whatever they wanted. Now that they could not use their true essence and spiritual consciousness, they were equivalent to ordinary mortals. As ordinary mortals, the two women did not have any ability to survive, and were obviously not as good as a grassroots character like him. Let's leave this desert first, and find something to fill our stomachs. Ning Qing simply spoke. He did not take out his fasting pills, nor did he take out his fresh water pills. The reason was very simple. Ning Qing felt that Su Yingde and Yin Kongchan were a bit strange, at least the two of them were hiding something from him. Because of this, he did not continue to ask Yin Kongchan why she did not come with them, and instead chose to leave alone. Of course, there was another reason. He did not have many fasting pills and fresh water pills. If the three of them did not work hard, and only relied on these things to consume, then they would not be able to persist for a long time. Su Yingde and Yin Kongchan simply did not know what to do, and obviously did not have any objections. The two of them consciously followed behind Ning Qing. Without their cultivation, the two women were far inferior to Ning Qing, who had not yet fully recovered. In just half a day, the two women were gasping for breath, and their faces were pale. Under the scorching sun, even their lips started to crack. As their sweat evaporated, they became even weaker. Even Ning Qing could feel his strength dropping rapidly. If he did not get out of the desert as soon as possible, then his more than 200 fresh water pills would definitely not last for long. I don't think I will be able to get out of this desert. I never thought that I would be so desperate for a drop of water. Yin Kongchan looked at the endless yellow sand in the distance, as well as the gradually setting sun, and spoke with a somewhat hoarse voice. Ning Qing sighed and asked, Yin Kongchan, you have some understanding of the Forsaken Land. Can you tell me, has anyone ever come out of the Forsaken Land? When he asked this question, he was already prepared to take out the fresh water pills and fasting pills, so that each of them could first replenish some of their strength. Yin Kongchan stopped, shook her head and spoke, the people who enter the Forsaken Land are all people who have been abandoned by the heavens and earth. I have never heard of anyone coming out. However, I am sure that we can get out of this place, otherwise no one would know about the Forsaken Land. After saying that, Yin Kongchan looked at Ning Qing and spoke, Ning Qing, why didn't you continue to ask me after we entered this place? I think that the three of us should cooperate with each other. These questions can be asked later. Ning Qing spoke as if he did not care about it. Yin Kongchan and Su Yingde were not fools. Ning Qing's words indicated that he already knew a few things, causing the three of them to turn silent in an instant. If we choose a direction, and then keep moving forward, then we will eventually get out of this desert. Ning Qing broke the silence between the three of them, while feeling a bit of pity in his heart. He felt that it was a pity that the compass that he had refined was inside the cloth bag inside his ring, if only he had the compass in his hands. At this time, two shadows appeared in the distance in the line of sight of the three people. "Is there someone?" Su Yingde and Yin Kongchan spoke up at the same time. "There are two people." Ning Qing also spoke up in a pleasantly surprised voice. Since there were people here, then it meant that there was soil for them to survive, as such the three of them did not have to worry about starving to death or even dying of thirst. The two shadows were getting bigger and bigger, and soon arrived in front of the three people. These two shadows were men. When Ning Qing saw these two men, his heart immediately sank. The skin of these two men was just like tree bark, their complexion was dry, their hair was yellowish, and their bodies were covered in a brown color. This was obviously the result of a long-term water shortage, only then would one have this kind of condition. These two people should be the people who lived in the vicinity, since even they did not have water to drink. Ning Qing could imagine that even if the three of them found a place where people lived, water should also be a scarce resource. After the two men arrived in front of the Ning Qing trio, their eyes stared straight at Su Yingde and Yin Kongchan, and even stretched out their dark brown tongues to lick their lips. Ning Qing could clearly see the terrible desire in the eyes of these two people. It seemed that they had never seen such a beautiful woman, such a watery woman. These two people only hesitated for a moment, before as if they had gone crazy, they immediately rushed towards Su Yingde and Yin Kongchan, without even uttering a single word. Although Yin Kongchan and Su Yingde did not have any true essence, they also did not have any spiritual power. However, they were still soul essence cultivators, as such their eyesight was still there, and their movements were also quite agile. Almost at the same time when the two men rushed towards them, the two of them immediately stepped aside. The two men fell to the sand, but the next moment the two men quickly climbed up again. Their movements were unexpectedly very agile, but this time the desire in their eyes was even more intense. However, this time the two of them only spoke a few words to each other, and did not continue to rush towards Yin Kongchan and Su Yingde, but instead rushed towards Ning Qing. Apparently the two of them knew that Yin Kongchan and Su Yingde would not be able to escape, as such they wanted to kill Ning Qing first. Chapter 310. Yes, it's doable. Not only is there a big bucket of water, but there's also a pond for bathing. You can also eat big fish and meat. Sigh, I don't have this luck. Who asked me to be a man? I wish you good luck, I'm leaving now. Ning Qing finished speaking, as he turned around and walked away. Although these moves were not as fast as a falcon, but they were still incomparably agile. Compared to Yin Kongchan and Su Yingde, Ning Qing's advantage was obvious. Ning Qing glanced at Yin Kongchan and spoke out lightly, I really did not think that the premier disciple of the floating snow palace would turn out to be such a sentimental person. Suit yourself. Did you not find a place to live? Ning Qing looked at Yin Kongchan in doubt. Perhaps it was Ning Qing's last sentence that encouraged Yin Kongchan and Su Yingde, as the two of them seemed to have gained a bit more strength, as the three of them soon arrived at the position that Ning Qing had mentioned. Now that these two men rushed towards him, Ning Qing was not worried at all. The two of them were unarmed, and they charged over without any hesitation. They were too arrogant. Ning Qing bent over, and pulled out the Mitsubishi thorn that was tied to his calf. There was also a sentence that Yin Kongchan did not say, if Su Yingde fell in love with Ning Qing, then she would kill any woman who had a relationship with Ning Qing. After walking for most of the night, when the sky was about to turn bright, Su Yingde stopped and said, Ning Qing, we can't walk anymore. If we continue to walk like this, then tomorrow when the sun rises, we will still die. Ning Qing looked into the distance and spoke, the skin of these two men is dry, it is obvious that they lack water. However, the two of them were very agile. It could be seen that although they lacked food and water, they still had a source of food and water. At least the food and water did not threaten their lives. There was one more thing. The two of them appeared here without anything on them, which meant that they didn't live far from here. If I'm not wrong, there should be a village that looks like a tribe from the direction they came from. We will rest here for a day, and then we can decide where to go. Ning Cheng immediately found the largest cave among the rocks, and drilled into it. There was no pond, or rather, not a drop of water. However, there was a large stretch of dried poplars and a large group of protruding rocks. Ning Cheng took a look. This large stretch of dried-up poplar trees could block the strongest sunlight from shining on the rocks. Yin Kong-chan, who was squatting on the other side of Ning Cheng, suddenly spoke up, "There must be some water in this castle, why don't we go and steal some at night?" Regarding Ning Cheng's words, Yin Kong-chan did not find it strange. She was silent for a moment before she spoke. "The reason why I took your ring, was because I wanted to complete that trace of my soul, and then advance to the soul sculpting realm, and then come back to take you out of here, while also returning the ring to you. Whether you believe it or not, that's what I think. I've always done things based on my heart, not because I want to do anything to you. I'm doing this because I don't want to owe you anything. I left you and Su Yingde knows about it. Moreover, I have my own reasons for leaving." Yin Kong-chan spoke in a somewhat depressed tone. When these two men rushed toward Su Yingde and Yin Kong-chan, their eyes were filled with a naked wild desire. This kind of desire, in addition to the kind of desire between men and women, also contained a kind of hunger and thirst. From the way they licked their lips, Ning Cheng could see it. Ning Cheng stood up, patted off the sand on his body and spoke, "Ah, maybe you can steal a bucket of water at night, you wouldn't even be able to finish it." Yin Kong-chan did not bother with Ning Cheng's words, she just looked at the two men who were killed by Ning Cheng, and spoke with some lingering fear, "Fortunately you killed these two people, otherwise if these people pounced on me, I would have died of nausea." Pa! A crisp sound rang out as Su Yingde fell to the ground, her face was as pale as paper as she stood at the entrance of the cave. Ning Cheng once again gave a smile and spoke, "Don't think that these two fellows just wanted to force themselves on you, they would even drink your blood, and even eat your flesh. But we—" Yin Kong-chan spoke those 4 words in a hoarse voice, but did not continue. She felt that her throat was smoking. Even if they starved to death, it would still be much better than having no water to drink. Ning Cheng was not much better than the two women, but Ning Cheng knew in his heart that he had a lot of fresh water, as such his spirit was much stronger than the two women. "Are we going to the settlement tribe now?" Yin Kong-chan nervously looked at Ning Cheng. When he saw Su Yingde and Yin Kong-chan also following them, he spoke in a somewhat puzzled voice, "There is more than one cave here, you can just look for another one, why are you following me?" Yin Kong-chan shook her head and spoke, "I found it, but it is not as good as your place, I came here to explain a few things to you." As Ning Cheng finished speaking, he had already chosen the largest side cave. This cave had a radius of several square meters, because of the surrounding poplar trees, plus the fact that the cave could not be completely sealed, the wind blowing over the open sandy ground was even somewhat cool. It was just that there was a kind of whimpering sound, which made people who heard it feel a bit creeped out. The tri-edged thorn stabbed into the chest of the first person, before it was instantly pulled out by Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng rolled on the ground, quickly got up, and then turned around and stabbed the tri-edged thorn into the back of the second person. Only an idiot would think of going to the settlement to steal water at night. Of course, Ning Cheng also knew that Yin Kong-chan was just too thirsty for water. What she said was not wrong, this was not a village, rather it was indeed a fort, but this fort was in a dilapidated state, it was no different from a dilapidated wall. If it weren't for the occasional few figures walking through the stone castle, it would seem as if the stone castle was dead. Moreover, I also know that as long as I take away the ring, even if Su Yingde wanted to sever her emotions, she would not kill you. The things that she needs are in my hands, the mirage stones in your ring, the geocentric 9 Yin essence, and the mirage tree are all things that she needs. Ning Cheng waved his hand and spoke, let's first carefully look at the situation. If the situation is not good, then we will change direction and leave this place. How could Yin Kongchan not know that Ning Cheng was ridiculing her for having a simple mind? Who made her so thirsty for water? Now that Ning Cheng had left, she could only helplessly follow Ning Cheng. Su Yingde simply did not speak much, and did not hesitate to leave with Ning Cheng. There were some stones in the cave. Ning Cheng sat down on a slightly larger stone, and was preparing to eat a fasting pill and a fresh water pill, when Yin Kongchan walked in. Yin Kongchan gave a sigh and spoke, "Before you started cultivating, did you practice your punches and kicks? What should we do now?" Su Yingde and Yin Kongchan asked at the same time in a hoarse voice. It was obvious that the two of them did not have any ideas at the moment. Yin Kongchan shook her head and spoke, "No, she should have really fallen in love with you, at least for now she will not harm you. Or rather, she has already fallen in love with you, and is not at ease leaving you in my hands. It is because of this, that I had to leave you and Su Yingde. There really is a fort." Su Yingde, who was squatting on the ground, looked at the broken and mottled wall in the distance in amazement. Su Yingde glanced at Ning Cheng, but did not speak. Yin Kongchan pointed to a few small holes on the side of the cave and spoke, "There are several small holes here. If we stay together we would be able to take care of each other. Maybe tomorrow we will never be able to be together again." Yin Kongchan and Su Yingde looked at the triangular-edged thorn in Ning Cheng's hands, and then looked at the two men who were lying on the ground, unable to move. After a good while, Su Yingde spoke up, "Where did you take out that dagger from?" When Ning Cheng heard this, his heart immediately softened. He knew that Yin Kongchan was right. Without Yin Kongchan, he really would have frozen to death. "Whether you admit it or not, you were saved by me, moreover I was the one who held you in my hands. The cold poison in your body, it was also me who used my true essence to dissolve it." Ning Cheng suddenly sneered and spoke, "If that's the case, then I should really thank you. The two of you have such a tacit understanding, yet you took away my ring. Su Yingde took me away. You both did not suffer a loss, but I was the one who was the spendthrift, right? Two self-righteous women. You also think that my method is feasible, right?" Yin Kongchan, on seeing that her idea was approved by Ning Cheng, spoke out in a pleasantly surprised voice. It could be seen to what extent her thirst for water had reached. When Ning Cheng saw the two men rushing towards Yin Kongchan and Su Yingde, he did not move. He also wanted to know, these two female cultivators were from a large academy, whether they were really weak, or if they had some other kind of martial skill. Even if he knew that there were people living in front of him, Ning Cheng would not go over. He had already seen two people in front of him. Even if his tri-edged thorn was powerful, it would only be able to kill a limited number of people. Once the tribe had a master, or a large number of people, he was sure that he would be eaten alive. But Su Yingde and Yin Kongchan could only be more miserable. Two people at the great circle of the soul essence realm that he could not even defeat, were killed by him with just 2 stabs. Ning Cheng felt a bit proud in his heart. Of course, he knew that it was not luck. Wasn't there a saying, even if you have high martial skills, you would still be afraid of a kitchen knife? These two people simply did not have any martial skills, not to mention that he was using a tri-edged thorn that was countless times more powerful than a kitchen knife. Ning Cheng's tone turned even more indifferent. "Since you have already left, then why did you take away my ring?" Ning Cheng pointed to a vague shadow in front of them and spoke, "There should be a patch of populous poplar there. If we go there to rest, then we might be able to support ourselves tomorrow. Maybe when we reach there, there would be a pond." After seeing their dodging movements, Ning Cheng was sure that these two women were the same as him. Without any martial skills, they were just relying on their strong eyesight to avoid him. "Are you saying that Su Yingde wants to harm me?" Ning Cheng's tone was somewhat indifferent. Ning Cheng knew why Yin Kongchan was so nervous, as he smiled and spoke, "If we go forward, then we will definitely be able to find that tribe. If you want to go, then I will not send you off, but I will not go with you." Ning Cheng knew what Yin Kongchan wanted to say, as he nodded and spoke, "You can speak." I have a reason to go. If I do not go, then Su Yingde will definitely kill me. I cannot guard against her all the time, as such I can only leave you. Yin Kongchan's tone was getting hoarser and hoarser. Do not ask me why, because Su Yingde had asked me to take you away several times, but I refused. Chapter 311. At this time the sky was already completely bright. Ning Cheng saw a piece of coarse porcelain that had been smashed to pieces on the ground, as well as the bright red stains around it. He immediately understood in his heart what had happened. After the things in his hands fell to the ground, Su Yingde also fell down. Ning Cheng quickly stepped forward and held her in his arms. At this time, not only was Su Yingde's complexion pale, even her lips were pale. The scars on her wrists that had yet to form scabs already indicated where the blood in the cracked and rough porcelain bowl had come from. She fainted, but will wake up in a while. Yin Kongchan looked at Su Yingde in Ning Cheng's arms and spoke. Saying that, she sighed again. Su Yingde really likes you, it's just that she does not understand you. If it were me, I wouldn't do this. Because I'm sure you won't drink it. Su Yingde had just woken up. When she heard Yin Kongchan's words, there was even some fear in her eyes as she spoke. Ning Cheng, I don't think I can go back. I heard you say that those people wanted to drink my blood, and I saw a porcelain bowl inside, so. Ning Cheng also gave out a sigh. He knew that Su Yingde was panicking because she had heard Yin Kongchan say that she did not understand him. Don't do such a thing in the future. I may not have a future. Su Yingde's eyes dimmed, as her voice became a bit weak. This time I want to help you, not because I want to fall in love with you. Believe me, those things in the past, for me, are already very far away. Before, you asked me. Ning Cheng stopped Su Yingde from speaking, as he took out a pill and put it in Su Yingde's mouth and spoke. You don't have to swallow it, just suck it. Su Yingde did not know how Ning Cheng came to possess such a pill. As she subconsciously sucked on it, a mouthful of clear and sweet water instantly moistened her throat. She looked at Ning Cheng in shock, and subconsciously sucked a few times. No one could describe what she was experiencing at this moment. She was a person with smoke all over her body, and then she was given a bowl of blood and then had to drink water. There was nothing that could compare to the taste of clear water at this moment. Ning Cheng, on seeing Yin Kongchan staring at him in shock, took out a fresh water pill and handed it to Yin Kongchan and spoke, you can also suck it. After that, he also took out a water pill and sucked a big mouthful of it. The clear and sweet water flowing down his throat was simply the best enjoyment in the world. Water was indeed the best thing. Yin Kongchan sucked a mouthful of it, before looking at Ning Cheng in disbelief. However, she simply did not have the time to speak, as she consumed the fresh water pill that contained a large bowl of water. With a large bowl of water to moisten her, Yin Kongchan's pale complexion immediately turned rosy. Not waiting for Yin Kongchan to speak, Ning Cheng once again took out a pill and handed it over. Swallow it. I already have enough, no need to waste it. Yin Kongchan only managed to calm down the shock in her heart after a while. She really could not figure out how Ning Cheng could bring out the fresh water pill. This is not a fresh water pill, this is a fasting pill. One can last for 3 days. Can you use your spiritual consciousness? Yin Kongchan asked in amazement. Ning Cheng shook his head and said, you can't use it, I put it in my pocket, you can eat it first. Saying that, Ning Cheng took out a fresh water pill and put it into the mouth of Su Yingde, who had an equally shocked expression on her face. You've lost a lot of blood, suck another fresh water pill, and then eat the fasting pill. After a few dozen breaths, Su Yingde was finally able to sit down by herself, while the 3 people remained completely silent. She and Yin Kongchan simply could not figure out why, in such a desperate situation, Ning Cheng would still have a fresh water pill, something that he could only dream about. The healing pills that you gave me before, and the healing pills that you gave to Yin Kongchan, were they also taken out from your pocket? Su Yingde finally asked the question that she had been puzzled about. Although Ning Cheng had lost his ring, but he unexpectedly still had some pills. If Su Yingde had not asked about it, Ning Qing really would not have thought about this detail. Now that Su Yingde asked about it, he finally understood. He had clearly said that he had lost his ring, but had still taken out some pills. If this was not arousing suspicion, then what was it? Now that Su Yingde asked about it, he nodded and spoke, "Yes, I am used to keeping some simple pills in my pocket, just in case something like this happens. I did not think that this kind of thing would really happen. Fortunately I had some spare fresh water pills and fasting pills in my pocket." "Your dagger was also tied to your calf for this reason?" Su Yingde asked again. "Yes, I often did not have enough to eat when I was a child, so my sense of crisis was a bit stronger." Ning Qing spoke with a slightly embarrassed tone, directly ignoring old Rui's words. Yin Kongchan, who had been staring at Ning Qing, slowly gave out a sigh and spoke, "Ning Qing, sometimes I really cannot see where your bottom line is. In the Hidden Mist Cemetery, only you can avoid the Yin spirits. Although we had encountered many Yin spirits in the Yin spirit trough, you were able to take us out of here. When we had no clue at all, not only did you find the location of the geocentric 9 Yin essence, but you were also able to break through the rank 7 natural array formation. When you went to collect the geocentric 9 Yin essence, I clearly saw a trace of white frost wrapping around your heel, but I found that you could still get rid of it. Sometimes I think, when you went to collect the underworld soul flower, even if Su Yingde did not eat the burning life pill to help you, would you still have a way to escape? Moreover, the geocentric 9 Yin essence that you obtained. When you fell, even if I did not pick you up, would you still be safe and sound?" Ning Qing was slightly surprised. He really had not thought about it that much. When he had picked the underworld soul flower, if Su Yingde had not taken action, then he really did have a way. As for whether he would have been able to use it or not, he did not know. As for being frozen by the cold poison from the summit, he really did not have a good way. The moment he was caught by Yin Kongchan, even if he wanted to enter the miniature world, he would not be able to do so. Therefore, at that time, Yin Kongchan had really helped him. As Yin Kongchan spoke, Su Yingde kept looking at Ning Qing. In addition to a soft clarity in her eyes, there was nothing else. "Ning Qing, thank you for saving me once again, but I can't return the ring to you, I'm sorry." This was the first time that Ning Qing and Yin Kongchan had ever met, that Yin Kongchan had apologized for the first time. Su Yingde frowned, as she stared at Yin Kongchan and spoke, "Yin Kongchan, although I know that you took away Ning Qing's ring, but I also know that after your soul recovers, you will definitely return it to Ning Qing. Moreover, you have already sworn a poison oath." Yin Kongchan spoke with a gloomy expression in her eyes. "I did not open the ring, because my level of restrictions was too low, while the restrictions on the ring were too high. Under my carelessness, I ended up destroying the ring, and because of this, the things inside completely disappeared." When Su Yingde heard Yin Kongchan's words, she once again trembled. She did not even dare to look at Ning Qing, as she spoke in a panic. "I should not have let her take away the ring, but I really did not discuss it with her. She took away the ring, and even swore that I knew about it. It was all done by herself after I acquiesced to her sneak attack. I thought that even if you did not have the ring, I would still be able to help you. If I had known that Yin Kongchan would destroy your ring, I would not have let her take it away even if I died. At that time, I only wanted to be with you, I did not want anyone else." Yin Kongchan also lowered her head, as she spoke in a sad tone. "We really did not discuss it, but I understood Su Yingde's thoughts, and she also knew my thoughts. Moreover, I knew that before I returned the ring, she would definitely not make a move against you, as such I left with a peace of mind. If I knew that I would destroy the ring, I would definitely not have done it." Ning Qing stood up and stopped the two people from continuing. "This matter ends here. Even if I did not lose the ring, I would not be able to open it for now. I'm going to sleep. After I rest up, we will find a way to get out." Ning Qing really does not want to have anything to do with Su Yingde and Yin Kongchan. As long as he gets out, he will definitely not have any intersection with the two of them again. Su Yingde and Yin Kongchan could see that Ning Cheng was not very fond of them, but Yin Kongchan actually stood up and retreated. Su Yingde's eyes were somewhat gloomy, she only hesitated for a short time, before following Yin Kongchan out. After the two of them retreated, Ning Cheng immediately chose a flat place, and fell asleep. If he wanted to get out of this desert, he would not be able to just eat, he had to conserve his energy, only when he had sufficient physical strength, would he have a chance. The exhausted Ning Cheng fell down, and immediately fell into a deep sleep, even he himself did not know that he could sleep this much. When he dreamt of Tian Mu Wan again, he suddenly woke up, and sat up at the same time. When he was cultivating in the Yixing mainland, he had forced himself to forget this name, in fact, he rarely thought of this name. But now that he had lost all of his cultivation, he unexpectedly saw this woman in his dream. Did you have a nightmare? Yin Kongchan's voice sounded in Ning Cheng's ears. Hey, is it dark again? Ning Cheng felt the moonlight shining through the cracks in the surrounding rock walls, as he subconsciously spoke out. Then he immediately thought of something. Why was Yin Kongchan here? Why are you here? Didn't I say that I was going to sleep? Ning Cheng had just dreamt of a name that he did not want to remember, as such his tone was somewhat uncomfortable. Yin Kongchan did not care about Ning Cheng's attitude, and still spoke the same as before. You slept from morning till night, I know. Ning Cheng waved his hand to interrupt Yin Kongchan's words, and then called out, Su Yingde, you also come in. After Su Yingde came in, Ning Cheng took out 40 pills, and gave 20 to each of them and spoke, now each of you will have 10 fresh water pills and 10 fasting pills. I do not have many pills. If I run out of pills, and we still cannot get out of this desert, then we deserve to die early and reincarnate early. At this time, Yin Kongchan and Su Yingde were able to see that Ning Cheng had placed the pills on his belt. Ning Cheng also saw Su Yingde come in, only then did he realize that the two women had been assigned to stand guard. It seems that he had misunderstood Yin Kongchan. The two of them only took a fresh water pill, and did not take out any other pills. Ning Cheng understood at a glance that these two women were very flirtatious, and were both wearing women's robes, as such they did not have any pockets to hold the pills. After thinking about it, he put away the pills and spoke, forget it, from now on you can come to me every day to get them. After Yin Kongchan finished sucking the fresh water pill, she spoke, Su Yingde and I have a matter to discuss with you. Chapter 312. Seeing that Ning Cheng did not answer, and just stared at her, Yin Kongchan had to take the initiative to speak up. The Forsaken Land is not a natural existence, but rather a place that was sealed up by some ancient powerhouses using their supreme magical powers. It is equivalent to an array formation. If we can restore our true essence and spiritual sense, we can get out of here. Ning Cheng gave a smile and spoke, are you talking nonsense? If you can restore your true essence and divine sense, will you come to me to discuss it? We can't, but one person can. Who? Ning Cheng immediately interrupted Yin Kongchan and asked. Yan Fenghua. Yin Kongchan replied calmly. Ning Cheng frowned, he seemed to have heard of this name before, it seemed to be related to the Heavenly Tao Academy. Even so, what did it have to do with whether or not he could recover his divine sense and true essence? Knowing that Ning Cheng was puzzled, Yin Kongchan slowly spoke, Yan Fenghua is a disciple of the Heavenly Tao Academy, but he obtained the inheritance of an ancient powerhouse, which contained a cultivation method called the Embracing Young God tactic. This kind of cultivation technique did not require spiritual energy. As long as there was sunlight, it could be cultivated. In the end, one could cultivate a kind of power called the power of all creation. If successfully cultivated, the power of myriad things would be much more powerful than the power of true essence. Moreover, the power of myriad things was a power that was cultivated by creating something from nothing. However, my master told me that the power of all things isn't created out of nothing. Instead, it's a power derived from the Tao. When Ning Cheng heard this, a sentence suddenly appeared in his mind, the Tao begets one, 1 begets 2, 2 begets 3, 3 begets all things bear yin and embrace yang. As he thought of this sentence, he immediately spoke up, all things bear yin and embrace yang. Does the embracing yang God tactic come from here? Yin Kongchan looked at Ning Cheng in amazement, and only spoke up after a good while, yes, all living things carry yin and embracing yang, the embracing yang God tactic comes from this. So, whether or not you're willing to cultivate, I'm just discussing it with you. Are you saying that you have the embracing yang God tactic? Ning Cheng stared at Yin Kongchan and asked in a sinking voice. Although Yin Kongchan was surprised at how Ning Cheng knew about the all living things carrying yin and embracing yang, but she immediately restored her calm and spoke in a calm voice, I do not have the complete embracing yang God tactic. The Heavenly Tao Academy's Yan Fenghua originally had 2 lovers, one was my ancestor Sang Yan, and the other was Su Yingdai's ancestor Su Binglan. For the sake of fairness, he passed on the embracing yang God tactic to Sang Yan and Su Binglan. However, everyone only passed on a portion of it, not all of it. Because Sang Yan and Su Binglan were like fire and water, Yan Fenghua knew that the 2 of them would never work together to complete this cultivation technique. Therefore, he was fair on the surface, but in reality, it was equivalent to not imparting anything at all. As for me and Su Yingdai, we both happen to know a part of the embracing yang God tactics cultivation method. If you are willing to learn it, we can pass it to you separately, so that you can cultivate it. Yin Kongchan was a descendant of Sang Yan, while Su Yingdai was a descendant of Su Binglan. Although Yan Fenghua had calculated that even the descendants of the 2 would not be able to pass on their cultivation methods to each other. Who would have thought that both of them would meet him at the same time and be trapped in the Forsaken Land? Seeing that Ning Cheng still seemed to be lost in thought, Yin Kongchan once again spoke up, the Forsaken Land is in fact equivalent to a restriction, which seals the spiritual consciousness and true essence of the cultivators. But the embracing young God tactic was similar to creating something out of nothing. It was able to draw out a trace of true essence and a trace of spiritual consciousness from nothing, allowing one to open the seal on one's true essence and spiritual consciousness. If that's the case, we might be able to get out, but... But what? Ning Cheng asked in a very straightforward manner. Yin Kongchan hesitated for a moment before speaking. It's just that the embracing young God tactic carries yin and yang. After successfully cultivating it, the yang qi would be exuberant, and would need to be harmonized with yin qi, otherwise the yang qi would incinerate the body and cause one's death. Ning Cheng sneered in his heart. It was not like he had not encountered yang qi incinerating the body. It was just that this cultivation method had side effects, as such he had to be careful. As if seeing the sneer in Ning Cheng's eyes, Yin Kongchan once again took the initiative to speak up. If it was outside, being exuberant with yang qi would not be a big deal, any dual cultivation building would be able to solve it. It's just that my cultivation method does not allow me to dual cultivate with you, as such I cannot help you. Whether you want to cultivate or not, it's up to you. I'll help you. Su Yingdai spoke without hesitation. Her tone was firm and without even half a bit of room for negotiation. But when she looked at Ning Cheng, her eyes were as gentle as clear water. Ning Cheng nodded, as if he did not care about it. He had the mysterious yellow origin and the Star River Qi, as such even if it was the yang qi incinerating the body, he could still restrain it. Initially, his Star River Qi had absorbed the yang qi from his body, causing it to show signs of cracking. Although it was somewhat dangerous, but even if it was dangerous, it was still better than staying in this place. Previously, when he was at the bottom of the Blood River, he was able to find a way to get out. In this place, as long as his true essence and spiritual consciousness were restored, he would definitely be able to infer a way out. As long as this place was protected by an array formation restriction, it would be fine. Yin Kongchan, on seeing Ning Cheng nod, felt slightly relieved in her heart. Su Yingdai and I will pass on to you the parts that we know, you can sort it out and cultivate by yourself. This kind of cultivation method is related to one's qualifications. For those with strong qualifications, they would be able to cultivate a trace of the power of myriad things in about 3 years. For those with weak qualifications, it might take a bit longer. So long. Ning Qing frowned. He had thought that it would only take a month or two at most. He did not think that it would take a few years. How could he stay here for a few years? If we can get out in a shorter time, then it would of course be better, but if we cannot get out, then in the future we would have something to rely on. Yin Kongchan saw Ning Cheng's hesitation. Ning Qing nodded. Good, let's put it this way. You can pass on the embracing young god tactic to me, while I cultivate. We can also look for the edge of the desert. In any case, we have to get out of this desert first. After the three people reached an agreement, they seemed to have a tacit understanding with each other. Under normal circumstances, the three people would look for a place to rest during the day, while Ning Qing would cultivate the embracing young god tactic, while Su Yingde and Yin Kongchan would take turns to stand guard, while the three people would then hurry on with their journey at night. In just a blink of an eye, more than a month had passed, but the three people were still walking in the endless desert. Ning Cheng had cultivated for more than a month, but was not able to cultivate even half a trace of the power of myriad things. The aura of the mysterious yellow origin was not moving, showing that his qualifications were not good at all. Walking in the desert for more than a month, although Ning Cheng felt uncomfortable, but he did not feel anything, but Yin Kongchan and Su Yingde felt as if they were better off dead than alive. Although the two women had been very deliberately maintaining their image, they were still dirty like two street beggars. These days, Ning Cheng was not in the mood to cultivate. The fresh water pills on him were getting less and less. Even if the three of them were to use them sparingly, they would only be able to support them for half a month at most. Su Yingde and Yin Kongchan also felt Ning Cheng's worries. Although the two of them were anxious, there was nothing they could do. When the sun went down, the three people, as usual, left the station, ready to hurry on with their journey. Water. Su Yingde's scream instantly pierced through the empty and lonely desert night. Ning Cheng and Yin Kongchan also saw the place where Su Yingde was pointing. A huge lake appeared in front of the three people. There were even some trees around the lake. Because of the breeze, there were even some ripples on the surface of the lake. It's an oasis. Yin Kongchan's voice trembled. Encountering an oasis with a lake, for the three of them, what kind of happiness would it bring? The three people stopped, but did not rush over, because the three of them knew that this kind of place might just be a mirage. Maybe if they rushed to the front, they would find that it was all in vain. Let's go and have a look. Ning Cheng saw Su Yingde and Yin Kongchan looking at him, and immediately spoke up. After looking at it for a long time, he felt that it did not look like a mirage, or that there really was an oasis here. The three people excitedly sped up their pace, and in just the time it took for half an incense stick to burn, they arrived at the lake with the ripples flowing on it. When the three people saw a huge real lake appear in front of them, they were so happy that even their breathing became somewhat sluggish. There were rows of poplar trees on the lakeside, as well as some unknown weeds. There were even one or two fishes occasionally jumping out of the lake, indicating that this was a real lake, and not a mirage. Yin Kongchan and Su Yingde were sluggish for a moment, before they could no longer hold back the excitement in their hearts, and rushed towards the lake. Ning Cheng gave out a slight sigh. He was equally excited in his heart. After walking in the desert for more than a month, even if he had the fasting pill and the fresh water pill, this kind of life was simply too torturous. Now that he saw a real lake, how could he not be excited? However, Ning Cheng soon felt that something was wrong. After Su Yingde rushed into the lake, she only flashed a few times, before disappearing without a trace, while Yin Kongchan was just like a frightened bird rushing back to the shore. Chapter 313. Ning Cheng did not have time to think about it. As he directly jumped into the lake, he did not even have the time to ask Yin Kongchan the reason. What he feared was that Su Yingde did not know how to swim, and that the lake was very deep. From the time Su Yingde disappeared from the lake to Ning Cheng jumping into it, it was only a breath or two. Yin Kongchan looked at Ning Cheng jumping into the lake, and only reacted after a long while. Ning Cheng unexpectedly did not ask her the specific reason. She sighed. If it were her, even if she wanted to go down to save someone, she would first ask what was going on. She knew that Ning Cheng was not a good person, but she also understood why Ning Cheng was so eager to save Su Yingde. It should be that Su Yingde had finally influenced him, but he had not noticed it yet. The burning life pill burned her lifespan to save Ning Cheng, before cutting her wrists to feed Ning Cheng, as well as the words "I'll help you." Some things in the eyes of others were absurd, but for people like Ning Cheng, it was just too appropriate. What she had said to Ning Cheng before was completely wrong. Before she had said that Su Yingde had cut her wrists to save Ning Cheng, it was because she did not understand Ning Cheng. Now it seems that Su Yingde did not understand Ning Cheng, but rather she understood Ning Cheng too well. It was only because she and Su Yingde stood at a different point, as such the way they looked at the problem was also different. This seemingly stupid thing, but it was leaving more and more marks in Ning Cheng's heart, perhaps even Ning Cheng himself was not aware of it. Yin Kongchan suddenly thought, if she had fallen into the lake a moment ago, would Ning Cheng not ask anything, and immediately jump in to save her? Or would he first ask clearly, and then think of a way to save her? Or would he not save her at all? Ning Cheng had just jumped into the water, when he immediately understood what was going on. A ribbon-like thing stretched out and wrapped around his leg. Not waiting for him to react, another ribbon-like thing wrapped around his leg. Ning Cheng did not hesitate to pull out the tri-edged thorn from his calf, and directly cut off the ribbon that wrapped around his leg. This thing that wrapped around Ning Cheng seemed to know that it was afraid of pain, as after Ning Cheng cut off one of the ribbons, the rest immediately retracted. Knowing that it was these seaweeds that were similar to kelp, Ning Cheng felt relieved in his heart. His speed rapidly increased, and soon he arrived at the bottom of the lake. At the same time he caught Su Yingde, who had been dragged into the water by the algae. Su Yingde was clumsily grabbing in all directions. At this time she suddenly caught Ning Cheng's hand, and immediately grabbed it back. Ning Cheng was startled in his heart. Once he was caught by Su Yingde, he would not be able to help Su Yingde cut off the seaweed on her body, even he himself would be in danger. Just when Ning Cheng wanted to avoid Su Yingde seemed to have felt that it was Ning Cheng, as she unexpectedly let go of her hand. Ning Cheng's heart loosened up a bit, as he waved the three-edged thorn in his hands a few times. The seaweed wrapping around Su Yingde's body immediately retreated, and soon Su Yingde's body was completely empty. Ning Cheng grabbed Su Yingde, and quickly brought her to the surface of the lake. Yin Kongchan, who was extremely nervous at the lakeside, on seeing Ning Cheng come up with Su Yingde, gave a sigh of relief and quickly came forward to help. After Su Yingde came ashore, she quickly stood to the side, and spat out a few mouthfuls of water, before she softly looked at Ning Cheng and said, "Thank you. We are just helping each other, you also helped me before." Ning Cheng's words came to an abrupt end. Before, because he was busy saving people, he did not care about it. At this time, Su Yingde's clothes were sticking to her body, and under the bright moonlight, her curves were clearly contrasted, which made Ning Cheng, who had been cultivating the embracing young god tactic, feel his mouth dry and his tongue coarse. He subconsciously glanced at Yin Kongchan, who looked exactly the same as Su Yingde. When Yin Kongchan saw Ning Cheng's gaze, she was not even half a shred of shyness. She just looked at Su Yingde and spoke, "You said that you would help him, you can go ahead and do it, I will pretend that I did not see anything." Su Yingde was still looking at Ning Cheng with her clear eyes, but the gentleness in her eyes was almost enough to melt people. It was obvious that she did not mind what Yin Kongchan had said a moment ago. Ning Cheng coughed, as he picked up the half-piece of seaweed that he had just brought out, and changed the topic. "I do not know what this thing is, but it is able to take the initiative to entangle people." Yin Kongchan and Su Yingde both shook their heads. The two of them did not know anything about this kind of seaweed. "I want to go down and have a look, I feel that this kind of seaweed seems to have some uses," Ning Cheng said as he raised the half-piece of seaweed in his hands. Hearing that Ning Cheng still wanted to go down, Su Yingde hurriedly spoke up, "You don't have to go down, I feel that this lake is somewhat strange." Yin Kongchan also spoke up, why don't we wait until tomorrow to have a look? There are indeed a lot of strange things happening in the night. Ning Qing also felt that even if they wanted to go down and have a look, they did not need to go down right now. After experiencing this incident, Yin Kongchan and Su Yingde, the two of them, did not dare to rush into the lake, and just went to the lakeside to wash up. After the three of them finished washing up, Ning Qing used his tri-edged thorn to cut down some poplar branches, and then set up a temporary tent. The tent was not small, even if the three of them were to rest, it would still leave a large space. Early the next morning, Ning Qing was awakened by a loud noise. He opened his eyes, but found that Su Yingde and Yin Kongchan who were beside him had also woken up at the same time. The tent that Ning Qing had set up was not small, as such the three of them did not need to squeeze together to sleep. Moreover, Ning Qing also knew that Su Yingde and Yin Kongchan would take turns to stand guard, so how could they fall asleep? Moreover, they even dared to squeeze next to him to sleep. There are ghosts in this lake, we do not dare to stay outside. Yin Kongchan saw Ning Qing looking at them in doubt, and quickly spoke up. Let's talk about this later, there is a lot of noise outside, it seems like a lot of people have arrived, let's go out and have a look. Ning Qing said as he walked out of the tent. Sure enough, there were a lot of people outside, a total of 7 men and women, in addition to that, there were also 2 beast carriages. These people were completely different from the 2 men in the desert who were dehydrated, apart from some sand and dust on their bodies, each and every one of them was full of energy, and looked no different from ordinary people. At this time, these 7 people were surrounding Ning Qing's tent, and seemed to be waiting for the Ning Qing trio to come out. They were headed by a dark-skinned man with small eyes, at first glance one could tell that he was a very astute person. When he saw Ning Qing coming out of the tent with Yin Kongchan and Su Yingde, he seemed to be somewhat surprised. When he saw Su Yingde and Yin Kongchan again, his eyes even revealed a shocked expression. Yin Kongchan and Su Yingde, because they had just taken a bath, had also washed their clothes, and once again restored their original beauty. When Ning Qing saw these people, he immediately stopped, he was ready to pull out the tri-edged thorn at any time, but the other party did not act as Ning Qing thought. The small-eyed man, who was the leader of the group, politely asked, "Are the few of you also here to look for aquatic essence tendons?" Aquatic essence tendons. Ning Qing did not know anything about aquatic essence tendons, as such he could only speak up, "We are not looking for aquatic essence tendons, but because we mistakenly entered the desert, we accidentally lost our way, can I ask how long it will take to get out of here?" Hearing that Ning Qing trio were not looking for aquatic essence tendons, the small-eyed man was slightly disappointed, but still spoke with enthusiasm, "From here, it will take us half a month, at that time the 2 of you can follow our beast carriage to the Yaluan city." "Many thanks, my name is Ning Qing, and these 2 are my companions, Yin Kongchan and Su Yingde, I have not yet asked this friend for his name." Ning Qing on hearing that he could follow these people out of the desert, immediately cupped his fists in gratitude. "My name is Ma-ong, this time everyone came together to collect aquatic essence tendons." Ma-ong politely replied to Ning Qing's words, while simultaneously introducing the people around him to Ning Qing one by one. Ning Qing saw one of the young men holding a piece of the same kind of seaweed that he had brought with him yesterday, and asked Ma-ong in a puzzled manner, "Elder brother Ma, is the aquatic essence tendons that you are talking about a kind of seaweed that grows in this lake?" Ma-ong quickly spoke up, "Yes, it is this kind of seaweed. Because this kind of thing is far from the Yaluan city, and is also in the middle of the desert, it is extremely difficult to obtain, as such its value is extremely high." "What is its value?" Ning Qing also felt that this kind of seaweed was not ordinary. Ma-ong solemnly spoke, "Aquatic essence tendons contain a kind of heaven and earth essence qi, in the space that we live in, things that contain heaven and earth essence qi are extremely rare, and aquatic essence tendons are one of the most valuable of them all. Because of this aquatic essence tendons contain this kind of heaven and earth essence qi, as such we can extract the essence qi from the aquatic essence tendons and make it into an aquatic essence pill, which can be used by some martial artists for cultivation. Because of this, the value of aquatic essence tendons is very high. Even a small piece of it can be sold for a silver coin. Ning Qing couldn't help but think that it was no wonder, when he cut off the aquatic essence tendons, he could feel its value. It turned out that this thing also contained essence qi, which was similar to a qi gathering stone. There are a lot of aquatic essence tendons down here, why do you say that it is difficult to obtain? Ning Qing thought back to last night when he went into the lake. It was only a short time, but he was already entangled by this kind of aquatic essence tendons. It showed that this lake was filled with them. Ma On sighed and spoke, "Elder brother Ning, you do not know, but the aquatic essence tendons are exceptionally tough. Moreover, if you are not careful and are entangled by them, then it would only lead to a situation of death. Every time we come here, we have to go through untold hardships in order to obtain just a little bit." Exceptionally tough. Ning Qing thought back to his tri-edged thorn that could easily cut off a strand of aquatic essence tendons, so how could he say that it was exceptionally tough? He quickly reacted. The tools that these people were carrying on their backs were all made of ordinary iron. It was simply the worst kind of weapons. Although his tri-edged thorn was trash, it was still something that he had refined using good materials. It was obviously not something that these people's weapons could compare to. Moreover, this lake is very dangerous to stay here at night. This lake is called the White-Robed Ghost Lake. It is very easy to lose your soul here at night, and turn into a walking corpse. Therefore, we do not dare to stay here at night, but the three of you were able to stay here for the whole night. It is really lucky. Ma On continued to explain. Ning Qing suddenly remembered what Yin Kongchan had said before, and thought in his heart, was there really a ghost in this lake? But since he went down yesterday, until now, why did nothing happen to him? Thinking till here, Ning Qing once again spoke, "Elder brother Ma, what do you think about this? I will go and get the aquatic essence tendons, and we can split the money we earn in half." Chapter 314. Yin Kongchan gave a meaningful glance at Su Yingde. Su Yingde's character seemed to have changed overnight. At this time, Ning Qing's thoughts were a lot more than before. He had never been to the Yaluan city, so who knew what kind of city it was? From the attitude of Ma On and the others, it seemed that the Yaluan city was still an orderly place. But no matter how orderly it was always a good thing to know one or two acquaintances. After changing to another oxygen bag, Ning Qing continued to dive into the lake. After a few days on the road, Ning Qing also chatted with a few people and learned about the Yaluan city. "Can I not go?" Su Yingde timidly said. On the 10th day, after the beast carriage left the desert, its speed became even faster. On the 13th day, the majestic brown walls of the Yaluan city appeared in Ning Cheng's line of sight. Listening to Ning Cheng's words, not only Ma On, but the rest of the people also suddenly understood. No wonder Ning Cheng's aquatic essence tendons were so fast, moreover he could even pull them out from the roots. It turned out that the other party was also a martial artist, and even had a skill called the tendon dislocation hand. After a good while, Ma On swallowed a mouthful of saliva and spoke, "Elder brother Ning, if you can fill up a cart full of aquatic essence tendons, then I am willing to help the three of you with the formalities for civilian residency in the Yaluan city, while also giving you a small courtyard. You don't have to worry about it, otherwise it would not be good for you to go to the Yaluan city." Ning Qing spoke as he was about to enter the lake. At the bottom of the lake, there was a large area where the aquatic essence tendons grew, but Ning Qing had already cut off half of it, mainly because Ning Cheng's triangular thorns were too sharp. Ma On spoke in a stern tone, "If you want me to help you, then it is not a problem at all. Although the procedures for living in the Yaluan city are somewhat troublesome, but with the identity of a civilian, I can still help elder brother Ning. But brother Ning, you have to tell me, how many aquatic essence tendons can you obtain? As for the dangers of going down to get the aquatic essence tendons, I won't say anything about it, I believe that you already know about it. If the ring was damaged, even the best item would turn into dust. This kind of spatial disorder wasn't something ordinary items could block. Ma Ong and the others who were nervously waiting for Ning Cheng at the lakeside did not have to wait for long, when they saw Ning Cheng rushing out of the lake while holding a large bundle of aquatic essence tendons. In just over half a day, Ning Cheng had already gathered 10 bundles of aquatic essence tendons. Feeling that it was almost enough to fill the entire cart, Ning Cheng decided to get another bundle, and then stopped. Some of the people who did not believe in Ning Cheng's words, now looked at Ning Cheng in shock. His eyes were filled with admiration. Those who were capable would be respected no matter where they were. Ning Cheng reached out and touched it, and found that there were all kinds of bones under his hand. From this, it could be seen that for a long time, he did not know how many people had died at the bottom of this lake. Not only that, but in the Yaluan city, everything had to be spent, even water had to be bought with money. Ning Cheng was also used to spending money on water. When he was on Earth, he had to spend money on water. So that's how it is, we already have enough aquatic essence tendons. With so many aquatic essence tendons, even if we worked for many years, we wouldn't be able to collect them all. Elder brother Ning, you truly have a good skill. Ma Ong did not care about Ning Cheng's iron spear, but was looking at the pile of aquatic essence tendons in excitement. In just a short time, Ning Cheng once again arrived at the bottom of the lake. He found that he could vaguely see some scenery at the bottom of the lake. Although it was blurry, he could clearly see that the bottom of the lake was filled with these long strips of algae. Brother Ning, what is this? Ma Ong did not ask why Ning Cheng did not manage to obtain the aquatic essence tendons this time, but rather looked at the rusty long spear in Ning Cheng's hands and asked. Ning Cheng's heart suddenly started pounding. If he could obtain a long spear that could not even be destroyed by the spatial ring, then wouldn't it be a huge stroke of luck? At this time, not to mention Ma Ong, even the rest of the people were looking at Ning Cheng in a daze. How was this possible? Obtaining the aquatic essence tendons in the white-robed ghost lake, if one was not careful, then the aquatic essence tendons would strangle them to death, and there would be no way to save them. Every time someone came to obtain the aquatic essence tendons, they would always lose one or two. Under the wave of Ning Cheng's tri-edged thorns, these algae were easily cut down like wheat. In just a short time, he had already cut down a large bundle. If the spatial ring was damaged, but this thing was not damaged by the power of space, then it showed that this thing was simply too good. It was definitely a good thing among good things. That's right, I will go down alone. But I am not from the Yaluan city, so now I am going to settle down in the Yaluan city. I am not familiar with this place, so I will need Elder Brother Ma's help. Ning Cheng spoke with a smile. A heavy and solid feeling welled up in his heart, along with a bit of joy. Ning Cheng touched the iron rod with his hand, and when he touched the end, he unexpectedly found that it was a long spear. Could it be that a powerhouse died in this place, and ended up losing their magical weapon here? Most likely it was related to the strict laws of the Yaluan city, as the people Ning Cheng met were very friendly. Everyone walked along the way, and even chatted with each other very well. But the magical weapon was placed in his ring, so how could he take it out in this kind of place? From Ma Eng's mouth, Ning Cheng also came to know that the person with the most power in the Yaluan city was the city master. At the same time, he absolutely could not offend the people from the city master's mansion. Moreover, living in the Yaluan city, there was also a hierarchy. If an aristocrat committed a crime, then they could use gold coins and other things to pay for it. But if a civilian committed a crime, then there was no other way. In order to live in the Yaluan city, Ning Cheng even specifically consulted Ma Ong on various legal details. Every time Ning Cheng came up, he would always bring a bundle of aquatic essence tendons, but this time Ning Cheng unexpectedly just grabbed a rusty iron rod, causing the people at the lakeside to feel very strange. Seeing Ning Cheng come down into the lake, Su Yingde and Yin Kongchan both nervously paid attention to the lake. At the same time, the two of them also carefully paid attention to the people who suddenly came here to pick up the aquatic essence tendons. Thieves cut off their hands, robbers were directly beheaded, and adulterers were castrated. Seeing that the aquatic essence tendons were far away from Ning Cheng simply tied the tri-edged thorn to his calf once again. Using both of his hands, he once again pulled out the iron rod, and this time he finally managed to pull it out. Ning Cheng gave a sigh and spoke, "Alas, the aquatic essence tendons at the bottom of the lake are almost all gone by me. I looked for a long time, but found that there were only a few strands left, so after thinking about it, I decided to forget about it. I picked up this iron spear at the bottom of the lake. It should have been thrown down by the people who fished for the aquatic essence tendons. I just happened to be lacking a weapon, so I conveniently picked it up." Fortunately, these people were completely different from the two people they had met before. Not only were they polite, but they were also very enthusiastic. Soon the two of them became familiar with two of the women, and even borrowed a set of clothes from each of them. Suppressing the excitement and joy in his heart, Ning Cheng once again touched the surroundings. When he was sure that there was nothing else in the vicinity other than the long spear, he grabbed the long spear and quickly rushed out of the lake. As for harvesting the aquatic essence tendons again, he did not have even half a shred of interest in it. Maong had also apparently guessed that the half of the aquatic essence tendons at the edge of the lake was lost by Ning Cheng, so he was sure that Ning Cheng had already gone into the lake. Since Ning Cheng had already gone into the lake, and still dared to say such words, it showed that Ning Cheng definitely had a few tricks up his sleeves. But this time, Ning Cheng's tri-edged thorn was suddenly blocked. His tri-edged thorn had cut into something hard, which even caused his hand to tremble a bit. "Good, it's a deal." Ning Cheng finished, then turned to Yin Kongchan and Su Yingde and spoke with a smile, "I'm going to get the aquatic essence tendons, you can wait for me outside." Only Su Yingde and Yin Kongchan knew that Ning Cheng was just talking nonsense. The reason why Ning Cheng was able to get these aquatic essence tendons was because he had a dagger. However, at this time, they were also paying attention to the rusty long spear in Ning Cheng's hands. The spear was about 12 feet long, but whether it was the spear shaft or the spear head, both of them were mottled and looked like they had rusted. Maong, who was the leader, in order to gain a favorable impression from Ning Cheng, placed 10 bundles of aquatic essence tendons on top of the two beast carriages. Yin Kongchan, Su Yingde and the other two women sat in one of the beast carriages, while Ning Cheng and the other 3 sat in the other beast carriage. There were also 2 people who were responsible for driving the carriages. Ning Cheng secretly thought in his heart, in the Yaluan city, there really was a need to go through formalities. Moreover, there was also the issue of identity. These things could be asked later. Ning Cheng was able to obtain so many aquatic essence tendons at once. It could be said that everyone here had made a fortune. Moreover, they did not have to take any risks at all. Because of this, Ning Cheng received the respect of all the people here. Su Yingde and Yin Kongchan were not people without vision, so when they saw the long spear in Ning Cheng's hands, they immediately knew that it was definitely not an ordinary long spear. Moreover, the rust on the long spear was also not the rust on the long spear. Maong quickly took out a leather bag and placed it in front of Ning Cheng and spoke, "After you go into the lake, you can tie this leather bag to your back, and then put a tube in your mouth from the leather bag. When you want to breathe in, you can take a deep breath. This will ensure that you can stay in the lake for a longer time." Ning Cheng spoke in a seemingly unintentional manner. "Actually, I am also half a martial artist. I used to cultivate a martial art, called the separating tendons and dislocating bones hand. Using this kind of thing to pull out the aquatic essence tendons turned out to be very handy, even I did not think of it." As soon as Ning Cheng entered the lake, a black shadow once again stretched out, but when these black shadows met Ning Cheng's triangular thorn, they took the initiative to retreat. Ning Cheng pointed to the 2 beast carriages and spoke, "I can get my hands on enough aquatic essence tendons to fill up one of the 2 beast carriages." As Ning Cheng thought of this, he suddenly thought of something. In the event that a long time passed, the restrictions on the ring would break, causing the ring to be damaged. Would that thing come out? Ning Cheng quickly grabbed the hard thing that was blocking the triangular thorn. It was just like an iron rod, with a cold feeling in his hand. It made Ning Cheng feel that this thing was not simple. He tried to pull it, but the iron rod only shook a bit, but he did not manage to pull it up. Yaluan City turned out to be a very law-abiding city, but the severity of the laws, even Ning Cheng would be left speechless. This thing is good. Ning Cheng smiled. This was simply a simple oxygen tank. Ma On looked at Ning Cheng with his mouth wide open in disbelief, and spoke up after a good while. Did you say that you went down alone to get your hands on the aquatic essence tendons? So much? Ma On and the others could not believe what they saw in Ning Cheng's hands was a large bundle of aquatic essence tendons. Every time they came here, they would only be able to obtain a third of this much. Moreover, it was only the upper part of the aquatic essence tendons, they simply could not even see the rhizome. Ning Cheng was able to get so much at once, and even uprooted them. Although Ning Cheng had completely lost his cultivation, but he had seen too many things, as such these skeletons did not have any effect on him. Chapter 3:15. The Yaluan city looked more like the ancient city walls that Ning Cheng had seen in the movies. Although the city walls were mottled with time and had turned dark brown, but one could still vaguely see that this majestic city wall was once made of huge bluestones. The city gate was very wide, with a total of 3 huge doorways. The giant door in the middle was about 3 feet wide, while the doorways on both sides were nearly 2 feet wide. Just as they were about to enter the city, Maong brought Ning Cheng out of the beast carriage. In Kongchan and Su Yingde, who had changed into a set of ordinary clothes, also got out of the beast carriage and stood beside Ning Cheng. Maong pointed to the largest gate in the middle and spoke, "This gate is the gate that the city master uses to enter and exit the city. The army also enters from here. Ordinary people cannot enter and exit from this gate, they can only enter and exit from the 2 side doors." Ning Cheng couldn't help but think that compared to the real true cultivation continent, this kind of place was really more cumbersome. In a true cultivation continent, there was generally only one gate, and anyone could enter and exit from it. Not waiting for Ning Cheng to ask, a burst of hoofbeats arrived, followed by a luxurious motorcade rushing out from the central gate. Maong quickly pulled Ning Cheng and spoke, "Elder brother Ning, quickly stand to the side, this is the city master's most favorite princess man going out, you must not bump into her." Ning Cheng quickly took a few steps back, while at the same time glancing at her. He was surprised to find that this princess man unexpectedly had a blue crystal dot on her forehead. He had only glanced at this bright spot, but he already felt a little dizzy. Ning Cheng quickly took back his gaze, and lowered his head and stood to the side. The hurried hoofbeats suddenly lightened, and then stopped in front of Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng's heart tightened, he felt that he should not have looked up at this princess man. However, he was also thinking in his heart, it was just a glance, it should not be a problem, right? Your courage is not small, to even dare to look up at me. Princess man's somewhat cold voice sounded out in front of Ning Cheng. When Maong heard this voice, his heart suddenly sank. He found that he had forgotten to tell Ning Cheng an important thing, and that was to never peek at anyone in the city master's mansion. Ning Cheng did not have the time to defend himself, when he heard the princess speak in an indifferent voice, drag this person out and beat him to death, then dig out his eyes. Ning Cheng immediately became furious, just a glance, this woman unexpectedly turned out to be so vicious. Not only did they want to beat him to death, they even wanted to dig out his eyes. "Princess, please don't, we have just arrived at the Yaluan city, there are many rules that we do not understand. I ask the princess to forgive him this time, this little woman is willing to pray for the princess day and night." Su Yingde was the first to rush up and plead with a bow. When Maong saw this scene, he sighed even more. Why didn't he hurry up and kneel down to beg for mercy? This was the rhythm before he died. Of course, he didn't know that Su Yingde, as a disciple of a top-ranked academy, would kneel to someone like Princess Man. It was already a great honor for her to be able to call herself a little girl and call the other party princess. "Hey, you dare to plead?" Princess Man, on seeing Su Yingde actually dare to come forward and plead for leniency, couldn't help but exclaim in surprise. Then, she said, "Raise your head." Su Yingde looked up at Princess Man with eyes filled with nervousness. That kind of delicate and pitiful look, coupled with her beautiful appearance, would cause anyone who saw her to feel a kind of resonance in their heart. Princess Man was also not an exception. The Yaluan city was filled with beautiful women, and she herself was also a very beautiful woman. However, she had never seen a woman as beautiful as Su Yingde. "Are you willing to come with me?" After a good while, Princess Man finally spoke up. Unexpectedly she did not blame Su Yingde for not kneeling down. Su Yingde quickly bowed again and spoke, "This little girl is married to her husband, and is willing to live and die with him. I cannot serve the princess, I ask the princess to forgive me." Contrary to everyone's expectations, Princess Man unexpectedly nodded and spoke, "Yes, since there is a pitiful woman like you pleading for mercy, then I will spare his little life and reward him with 3 blades and 6 holes." Ding! A narrow dagger was thrown out by the guards who had already surrounded them, before it landed not far from Ning Cheng. Although Ning Cheng felt angry in his heart, but he could do nothing about it. If his cultivation had recovered, then he would have definitely thrown out a fireball. This Princess Man was simply too self-righteous, and did not take human life seriously. In fact, he also knew in his heart that this might be the best outcome. But not waiting for Ning Cheng to pick up the dagger, Su Yingde had already grabbed the dagger. She raised her hand, and the dagger directly pierced through her shoulder. Blood instantly spurted out, dyeing half of her body red. Ning Cheng was almost stunned. He had never thought that Su Yingde would do such a thing. He quickly stepped forward and grabbed Su Yingde's hand, while simultaneously snatching the dagger and spoke, "I told you last time, do not do such a thing in the future." Just as his voice fell, Ning Cheng's dagger had already pierced through his left and right shoulder twice. Coupled with Su Yingde's attack, it could be said that he had completed 3 blades and 6 holes. "Humph, at least you still have a bit of friendship." Princess Man gave a cold snort, and once again gave a whistling sound, as the team of beast carriages quickly disappeared into the distance. Su Yingde, on seeing Ning Cheng's shoulder dyed red with blood, unexpectedly forgot that her own shoulder was also bleeding, as she panicked and stepped forward to help Ning Cheng bandage the wound. "I'm fine, but you have to be careful with your wound." Ning Cheng endured the pain, and just as he spoke those words, he felt his Zifu loosen up. The next moment the mysterious yellow origin that had been imprisoned for a long time unexpectedly began to flow. Was it a blessing in disguise after being injured? Ning Cheng was pleasantly surprised in his heart. He did not care about the fact that he was still outside the city gates, and immediately sat down, as he guided his mysterious yellow origin aura, wanting to attack the sealed core lake. Once his core lake was opened, and the true essence in his meridian started to flow, not to mention a princess, even if it was the entire army of the Yaluan city, he would be able to destroy them with just a lift of his hand. Su Yingde simply did not care about her own injury, and together with Yin Kongchan stepped forward, they helped Ning Cheng bandage the wound, and with the help of Yin Kongchan, they were able to wrap up their own wounds. Although Ning Cheng attacked for a long time, the mysterious yellow origin aura did not directly break through the shackles of his core lake and Zifu as he had imagined. However, Ning Cheng gave out a sigh of relief in his heart. It was good that he had started. Now that he could feel the mysterious yellow origin aura, one day, he would be able to restore his cultivation. He had cultivated the embracing young god tactic for a month or 2, but did not have even the slightest effect. He did not expect that with just 2 stabs, he would have such an immediate effect. It seems that the mysterious yellow origin aura could only erupt in a critical moment. Seeing Ning Cheng stand up, Maong quickly came over and spoke, "Elder brother Ning, this time I did not pay attention, I should have reminded you not to look up. Your luck is really good. If replaced by an ordinary person, they would have long since been beaten to death with their eyes gouged out. Princess Man is rarely so magnanimous, it should be said that you have a good wife." Saying that, Maong also gave a respectful look at Su Yingde. In his view, Su Yingde and Yin Kongchan were both Ning Cheng's women, but Su Yingde cared more about her husband compared to Yin Kongchan. This is not elder brother Ma's fault, it was me who did not understand the rules. I want to heal my injuries, I ask elder brother Ma to help us get a civilian identity, and also a place to stay. Ning Cheng quickly spoke up. Moving the mysterious yellow origin, for Ning Cheng, was the most important thing. He had to find a quiet place, to restore his cultivation. Only by restoring his cultivation, would he have the right to speak in this place, only then would he be able to leave this damned place. Maong patted his chest and spoke, Elder brother Ning, rest assured, I will take care of your residence and identity. I will definitely help you in the shortest possible time, you can stay in the inn for the next few days. Getting a promise from Maong, Ning Cheng finally felt relieved. He first came to Su Yingde and spoke, many thanks to you this time, are your injuries serious? Su Yingde gave a gentle smile and spoke, I'm fine, your injuries are more serious than mine, so you have to pay more attention to your body. Saying that, Su Yingde even stepped forward and carefully supported Ning Cheng with her uninjured arm. Ning Cheng did not avoid Su Yingde for the first time. Su Yingde's care and concern for him was not even half a bit fake, Ning Cheng could clearly feel it. When Yin Kongchan saw Su Yingde step forward to support Ning Cheng, she lowered her head, no one knew what she was thinking. No matter how much Maong earned from the aquatic essence tendons, Maong at least kept his promise. On the 6th day of Ning Cheng's group of 3 staying in the inn, he helped the 3 of them settle down, while at the same time finding a small courtyard in a remote place in the Yaluan city. With his own residence, Ning Cheng immediately went into seclusion, ready to use the mysterious yellow origin, first unlocking the shackles on his Zifu, and then unlocking the sealed true essence. He still had some clear water pills and fasting pills, so other than going out to take a bath, he spent most of his time in his room attacking his Zifu. Ning Cheng even stopped cultivating the embracing young god tactic, mainly because cultivating the embracing young god tactic not only did not have any effect, but instead often made him feel that he needed women. Although Ning Cheng did not doubt this cultivation method, but now that his mysterious yellow origin had loosened, he did not intend to waste time cultivating the embracing young god tactic. A month passed by in a flash. Yin Kongchan and Su Yingde knew that Ning Cheng was cultivating the cultivation method, as such they rarely came to disturb him. On this day, Ning Cheng's Zifu unexpectedly began to loosen. When Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness was able to stretch out to a meter, Ning Cheng almost cried out in joy. As long as his spiritual consciousness could stretch out to a few meters, he would be able to take out the things inside his ring. With his spiritual consciousness, to restore his true essence, it would simply be a matter of twice the results with half the effort. On this day, Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness had already stretched out to 3 meters, and when the situation was looking good, Yin Kongchan suddenly rushed in. What's the matter? Ning Cheng saw the anxious expression on Yin Kongchan's face, and immediately knew that something must have happened. Yin Kongchan anxiously spoke up, Su Yingde was injured in the market, moreover she is also being detained. They said that they want to take Su Yingde to the legal tribunal office. If she goes to the legal tribunal office, then Su Yingde would definitely not be able to come out alive. Ning Cheng suddenly stood up, what the hell is going on? Immediately take me to see it. Although Ning Cheng had been in seclusion to attack his Zifu and Core Lake, but he was very clear about what kind of place the Yaluan city was. The laws here were strict to the point of being terrifying. Even if it was Su Yingde and Yin Kongchan, these kind of beautiful ordinary women, very few people would covet them. The streets were even more orderly. Su Yingde was not a troublemaker, so how could she be taken to the legal tribunal office? Chapter 316. This makeshift market was not far from Ning Cheng's residence, as such Ning Cheng listened to Yin Kongchan's simple introduction on the road. Although he had initially helped Maong obtain a lot of aquatic essence tendons, but Maong, in addition to helping him obtain a few permanent residences and a small courtyard, had only given him 50 silver coins. The shrewdness of a businessman was undoubtedly revealed, as such no matter how much Ning Cheng asked for, he gave him that much. Ning Qing immediately went into seclusion in his residence to attack the Zifu realm, and did not care about anything else. But living here, they had to spend money everywhere. Not only did they have to eat, drink, dress and so on, but they also had to pay a residence tax for their own houses. Relying on 50 silver coins was obviously not enough. Yin Kongchan and Su Yingde could only go to the makeshift market to look for work. Both of them were skilled people, as such they rented a stall in the makeshift market to sell embroidery, and were unexpectedly able to barely maintain themselves. But the problem lay in this: there were already a few people doing embroidery in the makeshift market. Yin Kongchan and Su Yingde were very skilled, as such their things immediately squeezed out the other shops in the makeshift market, causing their business to deteriorate day by day. No matter how strict the law was, as long as it touched their vital interests, there would always be someone who would find a way. Not to mention that Yin Kongchan and Su Yingde were so beautiful, there were also many people who coveted them. After a month of stability, someone finally came knocking on their door today. The embroidery that Yin Kongchan and Su Yingde sold was returned one after another, the reason being that the two of them had used inferior quality cloth, and had washed and dyed it white for embroidery. This kind of thing was not only easy to tear, but it would also turn into a mess as soon as it came into contact with the color of water. In the Yaluan city's makeshift market, there were very strict regulations. Once they used inferior goods, they would also face the most severe punishment from the legal tribunal office. Being driven out of the Yaluan city was the lightest punishment. If it was serious, they would end up in jail, or even face the fate of being enslaved. Ning Qing followed Yin Kongchan to the makeshift market. This was the first time he had come to this place after entering the Yaluan city. At this time, he was not in the mood to look at what was being sold in the makeshift market, as he first saw Su Yingde. Su Yingde's hair was disheveled, and there were obvious bloodstains on her face and body. There were two men holding mahogany sticks, one on each side, holding Su Yingde in the middle. Ning Qing did not even think about it, let alone speak any nonsense, as he directly pulled out his triangular-edged thorn and rushed forward. He had been cultivating the embracing young god tactic for a long time, coupled with the recent loosening of his sea of consciousness, allowing him to slowly release his spiritual consciousness, allowing him to move with incomparable speed. Puff puff. Two bloody lights flashed, as the two men who were clamping down on Su Yingde directly fell to the ground. Their knees had already been completely shattered by Ning Cheng's triangular-shaped thorns. Su Yingde broke free and rushed into Ning Cheng's arms, while sobbing in a low voice. She had always been a noble disciple of a large sect. When had she ever suffered such grievances? Su Yingde's warm and soft body fell into Ning Cheng's arms. Ning Cheng unexpectedly felt a sense of tranquility. It was the first time that his heartstrings had been plucked by Su Yingde. Ning Cheng could feel Su Yingde trembling, as he gently patted Su Yingde's back and spoke, "Don't be afraid, no one would dare to do anything to you." Su Yingde's soft voice resounded in Ning Cheng's ears, "I am not afraid, I am very happy." At this time, the onlookers in the makeshift market were looking at Ning Cheng in shock, and no one dared to speak for a while. In the makeshift market, there had never been such a ruthless person. Was this person not afraid of being hanged? You dare to seriously injure people in the makeshift market. An obese man pointed at Ning Cheng in horror, while at the same time roared. Ning Cheng pulled Su Yingde's hand, as he walked to the front of the obese man, and spoke in a cold voice, "Then you tell me, who are the two people that I injured? What crime did my companion commit? Why was she beaten up by these two people?" The obese man immediately sobered up from the most frightened moment, as he pointed at Ning Cheng and spoke, "The two of them interfered with the makeshift market, selling fake goods, as such their crimes are punishable by beheading and enslaving." Saying that, the obese man pointed to the two men on the ground, whose knees had been crushed by Ning Cheng, and spoke, "They had just bought fake goods, and had come to return them, yet you dared to seriously injure the two of them. You really have a big dog's courage. You will be hanged, hanged." The obese man's words had not yet finished, when Ning Cheng suddenly stepped forward and slapped him a few times, while at the same time brandished his triangular-edged thorn once again. The harsh sound of bones breaking resounded once again, as the obese man's knees were once again crushed by Ning Cheng, causing him to fall to the ground. Ning Cheng raised his triangular-edged thorn, as he squatted down and spoke to the obese man, "Not only will I seriously injure you, but I will also kill a few of you, do you believe it or not?" You. The obese man at this time was so frightened that he could not even speak a single word. He did not think that someone would dare to be so unscrupulous in the makeshift market. Ning Cheng held the triangular-edged thorn in his hand and walked towards the two men who were seriously injured by him. The two men were so frightened that they could not even speak a complete sentence. "Stop!" Along with this voice, a few people dressed as sergeants came over, along with a man wearing an official's hat, apparently the leader of this group of people. "Ning Cheng, what should we do?" "These are the people from the legal tribunal office." In Kong-chan arrived at Ning Cheng's side, and asked in a low voice. Her tone was calm, without much anxiety. The man wearing the official's hat, on seeing the bloodstains on the ground, as well as the three people kneeling on the ground, immediately flew into a rage. "Who dares to be so bold, to actually start a fight in the makeshift market? Is this completely lawless?" The obese man, on seeing the guy wearing the official's hat coming over, immediately wailed like a pig being slaughtered, "Senior Sen, if you had not come, then we would have already been killed by this lawless person. This senior must uphold justice for the law-abiding commoners." Some of the people who were obviously on the side of the obese man, immediately started shouting and cheering from the crowd, demanding that the murderer be severely punished, and to bring peace to the makeshift market. The man wearing the official's hat revealed a trace of killing intent in his eyes, as he stared at Ning Cheng and gave a snort before speaking. "Your courage is not small. Come, bring them back to the legal tribunal office, and after the trial, put them into the slave market. These two women, also bring them back, and first lock them up in the prison." Several people dressed as sergeants were about to step forward, but Ning Cheng also shouted out loudly, "Stop for me." The few sergeants who wanted to capture Ning Cheng, were unexpectedly frightened by Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng inserted the tri-edged thorn into his leg bindings, and took a few steps forward. The man surnamed Sen wearing the official's hat, on seeing Ning Cheng step forward, quickly took a few steps back, and was just about to order his people to go up and tie up Ning Cheng, when Ning Cheng suddenly stared at him and spoke with a sneer, "Senior, my courage is not small, but your courage is even bigger. Now that you have captured me, I am afraid that the next moment you will also have to go to the slave market, right? You are talking nonsense. I am a dignified official of the legal tribunal office, punishing a criminal like you who destroys the market." This man's surname Sen had not finished, when Ning Cheng interrupted him, "Senior Sen, there are a lot of people here watching. What kind of law are you using to capture a person with meritorious services like me? What kind of means are you using to trample on the sacred laws of the Yaluan city? I am a person who knows the law and abides by it." As Ning Cheng spoke, he raised his hand and cupped his fists towards the direction of the city master's mansion. "You." This man's surname Sen was almost unable to speak due to anger from Ning Cheng, but he quickly reacted, and spoke with a sneer, "You destroyed the makeshift market, openly committed murder in the makeshift market, and yet you are still a person with meritorious services. If it were not for me, then I am afraid that you would have already taken a few lives in your hands, right? According to the Yaluan City's 5 Laws Article 971, if you commit murder in the makeshift market, then you will directly become a slave. If there is any resistance, then you can directly kill them." "Hee, it looks like you want me to directly kill you." Ning Cheng spoke with disdain, "Senior Sen, these 3 people are pretending to be officials of the legal tribunal office, beating my companions, and bullying the market. If I kill them, then it would be considered as a meritorious service. According to the Yaluan City's 2 Laws Article 618, anyone who pretends to be an official of the Yaluan City, can be killed by anyone, and would also be recorded as a meritorious service. Senior Sen, you want to help these criminals pretending to be officials of the Yaluan City, are you trying to rebel?" This Senior Sen wearing the official's hat turned pale on hearing Ning Cheng's words. he really did not know that such a thing would happen in front of him. If there was a conflict between the 2 laws and the 5 laws, then the 2 laws would absolutely prevail. At this time, the obese man immediately cried out like a pig being slaughtered, "We did not pretend to be officials, he made up the facts." Senior Sen thought that this was the right thing to do. Who would dare to pretend to be an official in the Yaluan city? Unless they did not want to die cleanly enough. Once his fear disappeared, his tone immediately turned stern, falsely accusing others of pretending to be officials. It is a more serious crime than what you have just committed. Ning Cheng interrupted Senior Sen's words without any trace of politeness, as he stared at the obese man and coldly asked, "Let me ask you, what crime did my companion commit, that you want to beat her?" "She sold shoddy goods, interfered with the makeshift market, and even sold fake goods. It is entirely possible for her to become a slave." The obese man screamed. Ning Cheng's tone turned even colder. "Did you investigate? Or is it just speculation? Or did you just listen to one side of the story?" "I did not investigate, these are all obvious things, the other people have already returned the goods." The obese man still argued. The man surnamed Sen wearing the official hat already felt that something was wrong, but not waiting for him to speak, Ning Cheng spoke up in a cold voice, "Even if the legal tribunal office wants to punish a person, they must first investigate before they can convict him. You have not even investigated, yet you have already convicted him, moreover you even injured my companion. Let me ask you, what qualifications do you have to convict people? If this is not called pretending to be an official, then what is called pretending to be an official? Let me ask you again, what qualifications do you have to beat up my companion in the market? Is it because you know Senior Sen?" As Ning Cheng spoke till here, he deliberately looked at Senior Sen and gave a smile. "My Yaluan city's laws are fair and just. Before anyone is convicted, they are all good people who abide by the law. Senior Sen, even if this person knows you, you cannot trample on the fair and just laws of my Yaluan city." Ning Cheng's tone turned impassioned as he spoke, causing some of the onlookers to applaud after listening to him. Senior Sen's face turned pale. The obese man had already forgotten the pain in his knees, as he spoke while sweating profusely. "You also beat up people in the makeshift market, moreover you even seriously injured us." Ning Cheng stepped forward, and patted the fat face of the obese man a few times. "Idiot, I am doing a meritorious deed, do you understand? You are pretending to be people from the legal tribunal office, how can I tolerate such a thing happening?" Saying that, Ning Cheng once again looked back at the ugly expression on the face of the man wearing the official hat and spoke, "Senior Sen, you are a senior from the legal tribunal office, but after coming here, you unexpectedly did not investigate anything, and instead wanted to catch a hero who had performed meritorious deeds. According to the Yaluan city's law, Article 431, I do not know what this senior should do." The man surnamed Sen's forehead oozed cold sweat. He really could not figure out why Ning Cheng was so proficient in the laws of the Yaluan city. Chapter 317. But Ning Cheng knew that it was almost enough. Even if he refuted this person surnamed Sen to the point that he was covered in cuts and bruises, in the end he would not be able to do anything to him, let alone really punish this person surnamed Senator. This was because he didn't know anyone who could support him. With his current strength, it was best for him to quit while he was ahead. Of course, Lord Sen has just arrived here and doesn't understand the situation. It's normal for some unruly commoners to complain about you. I believe that by now, Lord Sen should have already seen through everything. Ning Cheng chuckled, as he spoke in a slow tone. The man surnamed Sen, whose forehead was dripping with cold sweat, suddenly came to his senses. That's right, he was an official of the legal tribunal office. How could he be afraid of the threat of a mere commoner? So what if he was telling the truth? He couldn't possibly report it to his boss, could he? Understanding this, the man surnamed Sen immediately regained his composure. His tone and demeanor returned to how they were when he first arrived. I will investigate this matter in detail. You guys stay at home and wait for the results of the investigation. although he knew that Ning Cheng could not do anything to him, this man surnamed Sen also did not dare to continue to do anything to Ning Cheng. He had never seen a civilian who was so proficient in the laws of Yaluan City. He was even sure that even he was not as proficient in the laws of the Yaluan City as the commoner in front of him. Ning Cheng on seeing this cupped his fists and spoke, "Such being the case, then Lord Sen, I will go back with my companions. I will keep an eye on the situation in the market square at all times. If there is any illegal activity, I will immediately report it to the legal tribunal office." Before he left, Ning Cheng also spoke a sentence that was neither light nor heavy. What he meant was that if this man surnamed Sen didn't give him face, then don't blame him for not giving him face. There was no way that the official surnamed Sen could not understand the meaning of these words. "Ning Cheng, how are you so proficient in the laws of the Yaluan City?" As soon as the three of them left the makeshift market, Yin Kongchan asked in amazement. As soon as Ning Cheng found a place to live, the first thing he did was to purchase the laws of the Yaluan City. The laws of the Yaluan City were not limited to just 1 or 2 books, but rather several thick books, each of which was densely packed with tiny characters. Even if they had divine sense, it would take them a while to memorize it. Now that they didn't even have their divine sense, it was impossible for them to remember anything. Ning Cheng smiled and spoke, "I have a good memory, so I can remember a few things that are useful to me." Yin Kongchan was obviously not very satisfied with Ning Cheng's explanation. She knew that Ning Cheng was definitely lying, but she did not continue to entangle herself with Ning Cheng's memories. Instead, she continued to ask, "Then how did you know that you wanted to buy the law? Don't tell me you can guess what happened today." Ning Cheng spoke in a light voice, "In my hometown, it is also a place that relies on the law. Once you encounter something, and have no money to hire a lawyer, you can only remember some of the laws by yourself. I'm experienced, so I came here to look at the laws first, just in case." As soon as she spoke about his hometown, Ning Cheng's mood immediately became depressed, as such Yin Kongchan tactfully did not continue to ask about it. The three of them turned silent, until they reached the entrance of a pill and artifact shop. Ning Cheng stopped, and simultaneously spoke, "Wait, I'll go in and have a look. But we don't have any gold coins on us. I heard that the cheapest things here are priced in gold coins." Yin Kongchan looked at the pill and artifact store and spoke. She often passed through the entrance of this pill and artifact store, so of course she knew that the prices of the things inside were very high. "Let's go in and have a look, you don't have to buy anything." Ning Cheng spoke, as he walked into the store. In front of him were a variety of dazzling pills, weapons, medicinal herbs. It made Ning Cheng think that he had once again arrived at a true cultivator city's merchant house. What would the several guests like to buy? Although Ning Cheng and the other 2 people did not look like rich people, but the shop assistant still greeted them with a smile on his face. "I would like to ask, how do you collect the aquatic essence tendons here? Is it a complete aquatic essence tendon?" Ning Cheng asked. The shop assistant immediately became excited. "Do you have a complete aquatic essence tendon? If you are willing to bring it to me, then I can give you 18 gold coins for it, no, 20 gold coins. Ning Cheng quickly spoke up, "I do not have it yet, I just want to inquire about the price. By the way, I would also like to ask, if an outsider comes here, how much would it cost to apply for a civilian identity? If you want to buy a small courtyard in a remote place, how much money would it cost?" Hearing that Ning Cheng had only come to inquire about the price, the shop assistant's excitement immediately subsided. Nevertheless, he still replied in a very polite manner, "To apply for a civilian identity, you just need to go to the Yaluan City's population registration office. It would cost you 10 silver coins. If you want to buy a small courtyard, then it would cost you about 50 gold coins in a remote place. If you want to go to a more prosperous place, then it would be hard to say." Ning Cheng, on listening to the shop assistant's words, fully understood in his heart how much Ma Ong had cheated him. He had obtained a total of 10 bundles of aquatic essence tendons, each bundle contained nearly 100 of them. According to the shop assistant's words, his 10 bundles of aquatic essence tendons could be sold for at least 20,000 gold coins, while Ma-ong had only spent about 50 gold coins on him. Moreover, this 20,000 gold coins was the price offered by the shop assistant. If an ordinary boss came out, then the price would definitely be much higher. Ma-ong, this fellow was just too black-hearted. Many thanks, if I can get my hands on aquatic essence tendons, then I will definitely come to your shop to sell them. Ning Qing thanked the shop assistant, as he turned around and left with Yin Kongchan and Su Yingde. This Ma-ong is just too black-hearted. As soon as they came out of the shop, Yin Kongchan spoke up. Even if they were given a tenth of the price, they would not have to set up a stall. Ning Qing showed a slight smile and spoke, expecting a businessman to have a conscience, then don't even dream about it. Although Ning Qing was very ashamed of this Ma-ong in his heart, but he did not want to do anything to him. Initially, he had said that the two of them would split it equally, but Ning Qing had a clear distinction between gratitude and grudges. The three of them were saved by Ma-ong. If not for Ma-ong, then they would not have been able to find the Yaluan city. Do you still want to go to the white-robed ghost lake to get the aquatic essence tendons? Since coming out of the makeshift market, Su Yingde, who had not spoken until now, asked with some worry. Ning Qing shook his head and spoke, if it was not a last resort, I would not spend a month to go there. That's right, the last time you said that there was a ghost in the lake, what was going on? If not for Su Yingde mentioning this name again today, Ning Qing would not have taken this matter to heart. That night, after you went to rest, Yin Kongchan and I made an appointment to keep watch until midnight. But I unexpectedly saw a man dressed in white, carrying a long spear on his back, walking around the lake. I called out Yin Kongchan, and Yin Kongchan unexpectedly also saw the white-robed man carrying a long spear. We knew that it was definitely not a real living person, but it did not look like a soul. Su Yingde still had a lingering fear in her heart. Even if they were once soul essence cultivators, when they did not have any cultivation, they were not much stronger than an ordinary person. Yin Kongchan immediately nodded in agreement. It was obvious that what Su Yingde said was the truth. Ning Qing suddenly asked, you saw the long spear on the back of the white-robed man, was it the one that I had brought back? No, the long spear on the back of the white-robed man was purple in color, because he was wearing white robes. The purple spear was particularly eye-catching. Moreover, that purple spear was much longer than the long spear you are carrying. It is definitely a top-grade magical weapon, it is not something that would rust. Yin Kongchan immediately refuted it. She was a soul essence cultivator, as such she could still see through it. The long spear that Ning Qing was carrying was also made from was not ordinary material, but it was not as good as the long spear on the back of the white-robed man. So it was like this? After Ning Qing pondered for a long time, he suddenly wanted to go back to the white-robed ghost lake to have a look. Ning Qing, I also saw a lot of good things for sale here, there are even rank 9 spiritual grasses. But the preservation is very poor, moreover the price is also ridiculously high. Yin Kongchan, on seeing Ning Qing pondering, took the initiative to speak up. Is there a heavenly cusp flower? Ning Qing almost blurted out, he now had the geocentric 9 Yin essence, the only thing missing was the heavenly cusp flower. What is a heavenly cusp flower? Yin Kongchan asked in a puzzled voice, although she was not an alchemy master, but she was still very familiar with most of the spiritual grasses. As for the heavenly cusp flower, she had never heard of it before. Ning Qing quickly squatted down, and drew the shape of the heavenly cusp flower on the ground, while patiently explaining the characteristics of the heavenly cusp flower, its taste, and various other details. Yin Kongchan shook her head and spoke, I have not seen this kind of flower, it is also the first time that I have heard of it. Su Yingde suddenly spoke up from the side, I have seen this kind of flower. Ning Qing did not wait for Su Yingde to finish speaking, as he reached out and grabbed Su Yingde's shoulder, and excitedly asked, quickly tell me, where is this kind of flower? Su Yingde could feel the heat and excitement coming from Ning Qing's hand, causing her heart to tremble, as she spoke in a low voice, "In our Severing Emotions Tao Sec Spiritual Medicine Garden, there is a stalk of this kind of flower, which is heavily protected. It looks like it is very precious. Severing Emotions Tao Sect, I will definitely go there." Ning Cheng put down his hand, as he secretly clenched his fists. Ning Cheng did not pay attention to Su Yingday's demeanor, but Yin Kongchan had been watching from the side. Su Yingday's tone was soft, while her eyes were hazy and watery, as if she could not wait for Ning Cheng to immediately rub her into his arms. "Ning Cheng, I inquired about how to get out of here." Yin Kongchan was very uncomfortable with Su Yingday's coquettish appearance, as such she took the initiative to change the topic. "Can we get out of here?" Ning Cheng asked in a pleasantly surprised voice. This time, not waiting for Yin Kongchan to answer, a burst of hoofbeats interrupted the three people's words, as a team of guards quickly arrived in front of the Ning Cheng trio. "Last time outside the city, was it you who dared to look up at this little sister?" A cold and indifferent voice came from the tall one-horned beast. Su Yingday and Yin Kongchan quickly lowered their heads, while Ning Cheng once again looked up and stared at the man riding on the one-horned beast. He looked somewhat similar to the princess man from the last time, with a bloody aura covering his entire body, and an incomparably sharp expression in his eyes. "You are right, it was me," Ning Cheng calmly replied. "Good courage, even daring to look at a prince, you are simply courting death." One of the guards grabbed a long whip, and was about to attack Ning Cheng. The man riding on the one-horned beast waved his hand and spoke, "Yes, your courage is indeed not small. The two beside you are your women, I will also allow them to raise their heads." Chapter 318. Yin Kongchan and Su Yingday did not care about the prince's words, and just looked at Ning Cheng, wanting to know what Ning Cheng meant. But when the two women turned their heads to look at Ning Cheng, the man riding on the one-horned beast could clearly see the appearance of the two women, and immediately sucked in a deep breath in shock. He had never seen such beautiful women in the entire Yaluan city, moreover he even saw two of them at once. He was different from others. In a place like the Yaluan city, even if ordinary people knew that Yin Kongchan and Su Yingday were shockingly beautiful, they would not dare to have any ideas about them. The laws of the Yaluan city were simply too strict. Once one had such thoughts, then they would face the fate of being strangled to death. He was the son of the city lord. If he wanted a woman, he didn't have to follow the bullshit laws like ordinary civilians. "Are they all your women?" The eyes of the man on the unicorn flickered as he asked in a deep voice. When Ning Cheng heard this, he immediately knew that this person had taken a fancy to Yin Kongchan and Su Yingday. He was just about to speak, when Yin Kongchan spoke up in front of him, "That's right, we are all his women." Hearing Yin Kongchan's answer, Ning Cheng knew that Yin Kongchan had also read some of the laws of the Yaluan city. The Yaluan city was extremely strict when it came to robbing women. Even if the other party was a prince, he could not openly rob them like this. Even if they wanted to snatch it, they had to do it in a secluded place where no one would know. The expression of the man on the unicorn changed a few times before he said, "Can you give these two women to me? You can name a price and I'll agree to it." Ning Cheng knew that under the laws of the Yaluan city, the transfer of one's women was a legal act. As long as both sides agreed, it was fine. He knew that the two women would not follow this prince, so he simply said, "I don't have the habit of transferring my women." The man did not get angry, but still nodded, and did not continue to talk about Yin Kongchan and Su Yingday, but spoke up, "I heard from Ma Ong that the aquatic essence tendons that he obtained were all harvested by you from the white-robed ghost lake." Hearing these words, Ning Cheng then saw Ma Ong hiding in the distance. In his heart, he had already understood what this person had come here for. It seems that he did not come here for Yin Kongchan and Su Yingday, nor was he here to find trouble with him, but rather because of his ability to cut out the aquatic essence tendons. "That's right, I'm a martial artist, and I've cultivated the separating tendons and dislocating bones hand, which can easily sever the aquatic essence tendons." It's just that the aquatic essence tendons in the white-robed ghost lake are running out. Ning Qing replied. The man waved his hand and said, I'm not asking you to go to the white-robed ghost lake, but there's something else that I need your help with. If you agree, I won't mistreat you. Ning Qing spoke up in a light voice, the three of us are currently having a hard time making a living. Just a moment ago, the officials from the legal tribunal office were ready to take us back and lock us up. As for other things, at least we will have to wait until our lives get better before we can consider them. Elder brother Ning, I have been very busy these past few days. It was only today that I had the time to send you your share of the gold coins. I am really sorry, really sorry. Ma Ong, who had been hiding behind Ning Qing, on hearing him talk about the difficulties in his life, quickly came forward, and with a face full of smiles, he placed the 10 gold notes in Ning Qing's hands. Ning Qing took a look at them, and found that they were all in the denomination of 1,000, as such he did not remain polite, and directly put away the gold banknotes and said, Then many thanks Brother Ma. Saying that, he once again asked, I don't know what the prince needs my help with. Ning Qing certainly knew that the reason why Ma Ong gave him the gold notes, was because he was the one who introduced the prince to him. In case he turned his back on him, then he would not be able to eat the consequences. At the same time this guy was also afraid that he would complain. In fact, even if Ma Ong did not give him the gold coins, Ning Qing would not have done such a thing. In a place thousands of miles away from the Yaluan city, there is a mountain called the Abandoned Spiritual Mountain. The place I want to go to, is the Abandoned Spiritual Mountain. Because there is something on the Abandoned Spiritual Mountain, it is incomparably hard, and is not even half a bit weaker than the aquatic essence tendons. So I need your help. If you can succeed, then I will report to the city master, and grant you the title of a third-grade aristocrat, and reward you with 1,000,000 gold coins. When the man spoke, his eyes were staring at Ning Qing. We are willing to go. Contrary to Ning Qing's expectations, Yin Kongchan took the initiative to help Ning Qing for the first time. Ning Qing and Yin Kongchan were not acquainted for the first time, as such he knew that this woman would not speak without thinking. Since she said that she wanted to go, then there must be a reason for it. Being able to serve the prince, I am certainly very happy. But I do not know when we will be leaving, so that I can prepare for it. Ning Qing immediately replied. The man on the one-horned beast once again deeply stared at Su Yingde and Yin Kongchan, before he slowly spoke. The place inside the abandoned spiritual mountain is very difficult to find. You go and prepare for it. We will be leaving in 3 days. Yin Kongchan, why did you agree to go to the abandoned spiritual mountain? After returning to his residence, Ning Qing immediately asked. Yin Kongchan spoke in a low voice. I have inquired about it from the outside, and found that people often find ways to leave the forsaken land. Moreover, there is only one place to leave, and that is the abandoned spiritual mountain. On the abandoned spiritual mountain, there is a door called the Awakening Spiritual Gate. Although the words abandon and awaken have the same pronunciation, but they do not have the same meaning. You mean we can go out from the Awakening Spiritual Gate? Ning Qing quickly asked. Yin Kongchan gave an "n" sound. That's right, but the Awakening Spiritual Gate is very difficult to find, moreover its location often changes. However, no matter how it changes, it would always be inside the abandoned spiritual mountain. Moreover, I heard that it is extremely difficult to open the Awakening Spiritual Gate. Once, someone, in order to open the Awakening Spiritual Gate, brought an entire city's army with him, but as a result, the soldiers of the army were completely sacrificed, yet the Awakening Spiritual Gate still did not open. By the time he tried to think of another way, the Awakening Spiritual Gate had already changed its location. How do you know so much about it? Ning Qing looked at Yin Kongchan in doubt. It stood to reason that these secrets were not something that a civilian could know, not to mention Yin Kongchan who had just arrived here. Su Yingde suddenly spoke up from the side. There is a person in the makeshift market who comes to our booth every day to buy embroidery, and each time he would talk to her for half a day. She had heard about it from that person's mouth. It seems that that person's background is not simple. moreover he seems to care a lot about Yin Kong-chan. I guess that he has fallen in love with her. Yin Kong-chan sighed, Su Yingde, even if you fell in love with Ning Cheng, your intelligence should not have dropped to such a degree. How could I fall in love with a person here? Even if I can't get out, I can still marry Ning Cheng. In this place it is not like a person can only marry one person. Ning Cheng waved his hand, stopping the two people from talking, and continued to ask, Yin Kong-chan, is there any other news? Yin Kong-chan also did not continue to pay attention to Su Yingde, and turned to Ning Cheng and spoke, I suspect that the prince wants you to participate, in order to help him open the awakening spiritual door, and get out of this forsaken land. The awakening spiritual door is very difficult to find, in this place where there is no spiritual consciousness. If you want to find the awakening spiritual door in the abandoned spiritual mountain, then it would definitely take a lot of effort. Because of this, after the prince found the awakening spiritual door, I said that I must go. Otherwise, if we were to rely on ourselves, we would definitely not be able to find it in a short period of time. I know, you can use these silver notes to buy some things. I also want to continue cultivating. Ning Cheng put the silver notes on the table, and once again entered the house. As long as he could extend his spiritual consciousness a bit more, he would be able to open the ring. Once he opened the ring, then with the combination of pills and spirit stones, he would be able to directly blow away the power that was imprisoning his sea of consciousness and core lake. With 10,000 gold coins, Yin Kong-chan and Su Yingde obviously did not need to continue with their booth. The two of them tacitly took 5 pieces each, and went to buy their own things. Feeling that the two of them had left the house, Ning Cheng finally felt relieved in his heart. Just when he was about to attack his Zifu with all his strength, the door to the room unexpectedly opened again. What's the matter? Ning Cheng looked at Yin Kong-chan with a puzzled expression. Under normal circumstances, Yin Kong-chan would rarely take the initiative to come to his room. Yin Kong-chan sat down opposite to Ning Cheng, and hesitated for a while before speaking. Ning Cheng, you have saved me several times. I feel that if we go to the abandoned spiritual mountain this time, we would be able to reap some harvest. So there are some things that I want to tell you, whether you believe it or not, I want to tell you. Ning Cheng nodded and spoke, you can speak. If we can go out this time, then when we meet again, maybe we would not be able to sit together and talk so calmly. You are a very friendly person. If I must find a Tao companion, then maybe I will choose you. Ning Cheng waved his hand to interrupt Yin Kong-chan's words, I already have a fiancé, as such there is no need to speak about Tao companions. It doesn't matter if you want to talk about it with that prince, but don't talk about it in front of me. I don't like hypocritical people. Yin Kong-chan spoke, then I will tell you the truth, you have to be careful of Su Yingde. She might have fallen in love with you, but it is definitely not from her heart, it is because of her cultivation method. I know too much about the severing emotions Tao sect, they sever their emotions without any sense of righteousness. Seeing Ning Cheng remain silent, Yin Kong-chan once again spoke, to know whether she truly loves you or not is very simple, you just have to choose a time, and truly dual cultivate with her once, then you will know. The women of the severing emotions Tao sect, once they truly dual cultivate with a person, they would no longer be able to sever their emotions. For them to sever their emotions, it is when you urgently want to dual cultivate with her, or when your love for her is at its deepest. Because of this, they would never really do such a thing between a man and a woman. Once they do it, they would not be able to sever their emotions. As for when Yin Kong-chan left, Ning Cheng was not even aware of it. A scene emerged in his mind, the instant Su Yingde's white hair turned white, it made his heart throb, it even gave him a chill. Su Yingde did not hesitate to replace him with a knife, it let him feel the kind of decisiveness that Su Yingde had paid for him. When he cultivated the embracing young god tactic, Yin Kong-chan was hesitant, but Su Yingde did not hesitate to help him. But these were not the factors that made him have a good impression on Su Yingde. What he felt in his heart was gratitude, but Su Yingde did not hesitate to help him. But what really tugged at his heartstrings was the scene of Su Yingde in the makeshift market, her body covered in blood, as she was beaten to the ground, while holding a few pieces of embroidery in her hands. In this scene, he saw himself struggling to survive, and saw the most ordinary Su Yingde who was closest to him. This kind of Su Yingde made him feel a trace of reality. It was completely different from the Su Yingde who had blocked a knife for him, and was even willing to burn her life for him. At that moment it was such an ordinary, real flesh and blood body, that panic-stricken expression, it was absolutely not something that could be faked. Ning Qing gave out a sigh, and was no longer in the mood to cultivate. Regardless of whether Su Yingde was real or not, after going out, he would have to stay far away from this place. He did not like this kind of truth and falsehood. Chapter 319. When Ning Qing dreamt of Ji Luofei, he immediately felt a soft body sticking to him. Luofei. Ning Qing called out in a trembling voice, as he subconsciously embraced that soft body. A slight, sound rang out, which made Ning Qing feel that something was wrong. This was not a dream at all, this was really a soft body that he was embracing. He immediately opened his eyes, as a faint fragrance wafted over. At this time, the sky was already bright, and he could clearly see Su Yingde's beautiful face. At this time, Su Yingde's face was rosy like a rouge, her eyes were tightly closed, and she simply did not dare to look at Ning Qing. Ning Qing's hand subconsciously moved a bit. Su Yingde's back was incomparably smooth, just like congealed fat. His hand easily slid over Su Yingde's back in an arc, and fell on a soft spot. There was only a thin belt tied around her back, that is to say, other than a small piece of underwear, there was not even an inch of clothing on her body. Take me. Su Yingde's voice seemed to have come from the horizon. It was very light and thin, but Ning Qing was able to hear it clearly. Ning Qing had been cultivating in the small spiritual domain, as such his body had a trace of yang qi poison that had not been removed. Coupled with the recent cultivation of the embracing yang god tactic, his blood and qi were incomparably exuberant. The reason why he was able to restrain himself from going out to look for a woman, was entirely because of his self-discipline. Now that Su Yingde, who had stripped herself down to only her underwear, was hugging him like this, and even spoke in such an emotional manner, how could he bear it? Su Yingde immediately felt Ning Qing's reaction, as she closed her eyes and subconsciously hugged Ning Qing even tighter. Her whole body stuck to him, while her hands were restlessly grabbing at Ning Qing's back. Ning Qing did not have even half a shred of experience, but this kind of thing, he did not need any experience at all. He raised his hand and pulled off Su Yingde's underwear. Su Yingde gave a whimper, as her soft lips took the initiative to cater to his. Bang! Ning Qing's door was once again opened. Ning Qing suddenly sobered up from his lust. Su Yingde also sat up in a panic, as she tried to cover her chest with a thin quilt. But that dazzling white color could not be covered at all. You. Yin Kongchan looked at Ning Qing and Su Yingde who were sleeping together without any clothes on their upper bodies, as she spoke out those two words in shock, before she hurriedly blushed and spoke, "Why don't you wait for a while, I have something urgent to say." She usually didn't care about these things, but when she saw it with her own eyes, it was a completely different matter. Ning Qing gave out a sigh. He was even somewhat glad that Yin Kongchan had suddenly interrupted them. Otherwise, once this kind of thing happened, with his character, he really would not know how to treat Su Yingde. Would Su Yingde allow Ji Luofei to exist? That was absolutely impossible. "I'll go out first, you can put on your clothes and come out later." Ning Qing spoke as he quickly put on his clothes, while simultaneously closing the door behind him. The blush on Yin Kongchan's face had already subsided. As she saw Ning Qing close the door, she suddenly asked in a low voice, "Ning Qing, did you and Su Yingde already do that? Is she really willing to give herself to you?" Yin Kongchan's tone seemed to contain some disbelief, but the fact was that she had seen it with her own eyes. Ning Qing interrupted Su Yingde's words, "I haven't done it yet, what do you want?" "Haven't done it yet? I saw the two of you hugging and kissing each other, in just one night, wouldn't it be enough for you to do it many times?" Yin Kong-chan seemed to have forgotten that she had come looking for Ning Cheng for an urgent matter. Ning Cheng silently looked at Yin Kong-chan, kissing. The two of us also kissed, did we do it together? Yin Kong-chan's eyes flashed with a trace of anger. Ning Cheng, when did I kiss you? Ning Cheng lightly spoke, don't say that you haven't used my toothbrush, you and Su Yingde often use my toothbrush, do you think that I don't know about it? That is, indirect kissing. When one had magical power, the impurities in one's body would automatically be removed, even the clear water technique and the dirt removal technique would not be needed. However, once they lost their power, Yin Kong-chan and Su Yingde would turn into ordinary people. For ordinary people to eat grains, it was normal for them to rinse their mouths every day. But what could be better than Ning Cheng's toothbrush to rinse their mouths? Therefore, the two of them had been secretly using it, but Ning Cheng pretended not to know about it. Yin Kong-chan's face immediately turned red, she did not think that Ning Cheng would know about this matter. According to this statement, she really had kissed Ning Cheng. Thinking of this, she quickly changed the topic and spoke, that Princess Man has come back, she specifically asked you to go to her residence, I am afraid that she will do something bad to you, so you have to think of a way. Her guards are already waiting outside the courtyard, if not for you and the prince having some relationship, they would have directly broken into the house. Ning Cheng sneered, if they really break in, then I will go on a killing spree, even if it is the city master's mansion, I will still go and destroy it. Yin Kong-chan on hearing Ning Cheng's words, instead lowered her head, and did not dare to speak again. She had also broken in a moment ago, and even saw the most perverted scene. Ning Cheng did not seem to have any intention to kill her. Seeing Yin Kong-chan lower her head, Ning Cheng also knew what she was thinking, and immediately spoke, you too, the next time you look for me, you must at least knock on the door, this is the most basic courtesy. I know. Yin Kong-chan spoke with a sigh of relief. Yin Kong-chan, you said that Princess Man wanted to call Ning Cheng over. Why? Su Yingde's trembling voice came over, she had just woken up with a lazy expression, coupled with some panic in her eyes, this kind of indescribable demeanor, even if Yin Kong-chan saw it, she would still feel incomparably amazed. No wonder Ning Cheng was so fascinated by her. Ning Cheng looked at Yin Kong-chan and asked, why do you think? Yin Kong-chan bit her lips and spoke, I don't think it's because of you. Seeing Ning Cheng and Su Yingde looking at her in doubt, Yin Kong-chan directly spoke, if I did not guess wrong, then you will stay in the city master's mansion for a few days, and then directly leave the city master's mansion for the abandoned spiritual mountain. The Yaluan city has a huge flying bird, which can carry people, and is much faster than a beast carriage. What you mean is, once I leave the city master's mansion, someone will come and take you away? Ning Cheng asked. Yin Kong-chan shook her head, no, it should be said that once you leave this place, someone will come and take the two of us away, moreover they will use the reason that you asked us to come with you. Ning Cheng showed a faint smile, it looks like that prince is quite infatuated. Yin Kong-chan gave a sneer, but did not speak. Ning Cheng stood up and spoke, did you run out of gold coins? It's all used up, and I did not manage to buy many spiritual grasses. Although there are many good things here, but the price is too high. Su Yingde replied. You go and tell the errand boy outside that I am not feeling well, and want to rest for 2 days. Let him come back after 2 days, he certainly would not dare to disagree. Ning Cheng said to Yin Kong-chan, before he went back to the house and began to attack his sea of consciousness. He did not want to go to the city master's mansion helplessly, even if he wanted to go, he would at least have the strength to protect himself. Yin Kong-chan glanced at Su Yingde, and after going out for a while, she quickly came back. She did not think that what Ning Cheng said was right, when the errand boy heard that Ning Cheng wanted to rest for 2 days, he immediately left, and did not even say half a word. If she had known that it would be so simple, she really would not have bothered Ning Cheng and Su Yingde. Are you jealous of me? Su Yingde on seeing Yin Kong-chan come in, immediately asked. Yin Kong-chan frowned, why would I be jealous of you? Since you are not jealous of me, then why did you go in at the most critical time? If you had not gone in, at this time I would have already become Big Brother Ning's wife. Su Yingdai's tone was very cold. Yin Kongchan spoke with disdain, already become Big Brother Ning's wife. You can also take off your clothes and go in, this kind of thing is something you are good at. But I find it strange, aren't you going to fall in love? Falling in love is not the same as you. If I had known that you would even offer your pure yin to Ning Cheng, I would have definitely waited a little longer before going in. Su Yingdai stared at Yin Kongchan for a while, but did not answer Yin Kongchan's words, as she turned around and entered her room, while simultaneously closing the door behind her. Yin Kongchan frowned, she was very puzzled. Su Yingdai would never give up her body. Could it be that she had already forgotten the purpose of the Severing Emotions Dao sect? But with her appearance, if she had not opened the door and interrupted the two of them, then the two of them would have already entered into dual cultivation. Yin Kongchan thought about it for a long time, but could not come up with a reason. She could only shake her head and return to her room. After Ning Cheng returned to his room, he simply locked the room, and continued to attack his sea of consciousness. After his spiritual consciousness had extended to 3 meters, his sea of consciousness had already loosened up, coupled with Ning Cheng's repeated attacks. After a whole day, he once again felt the mysterious yellow bead. When Ning Cheng sensed the mysterious yellow bead, it immediately shook violently. The formidable mysterious yellow origin aura directly rushed out, and the layers of invisible shackles, under the impact of the mysterious yellow origin aura, immediately dissipated like a chicken or a dog. The shackles around his sea of consciousness were immediately dispersed by the mysterious yellow bead's origin aura, allowing Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness to immediately recover completely. His powerful spiritual consciousness revolved a little, and the invisible shackles around his core lake, also dissipated at this moment. With his true essence and spiritual consciousness restored at the same time, a long-lost feeling of power welled up within him, causing Ning Cheng to almost stand up and let out a long roar. Originally, he had intended that as long as his spiritual consciousness was a little stronger, he would be able to open his ring, and then restore his true essence through the pills in his ring. He did not expect that after he sensed the mysterious yellow bead, those invisible shackles in front of the mysterious yellow bead, would just be like floating clouds. The mysterious yellow bead really was an extraordinary thing. If his cultivation was a little higher, then the Forsaken Land would simply not be able to imprison him. On the contrary, if he did not have the mysterious yellow bead, then even if he was injured, he would not be able to unlock the shackles. Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness swept out, and saw Su Yingdai sitting in the room, seemingly in a daze. But Yin Kongchan had already taken off all her clothes, and Ning Cheng was able to see a looming spiritual qi radiating from her waist. Did this woman also have a hidden magical weapon on her waist? Ning Cheng did not have time to continue observing, when Yin Kongchan suddenly covered her chest and lower abdomen with her hands, as she cautiously looked around. Knowing that Yin Kongchan might have noticed that someone was peeping at her, Ning Cheng quickly withdrew his spiritual consciousness, and quietly left the room. Before leaving the Forsaken Land, he wanted to go to the white-robed ghost lake to have a look. What exactly was that white-robed ghost carrying a long spear on its back, and also whether that purple long spear was still in the lake. Chapter 320. With his cultivation restored, Ning Cheng's profound core 8th level strength was almost equivalent to that of a late-stage soul essence cultivator. Originally it took him half a month to complete the journey, but now it only took him less than the time it takes for half an incense stick to burn. At the edge of the white-robed ghost lake, there were many messy footsteps, there was even a broken beast carriage. Ning Cheng could tell with a glance that after he left, a lot of people had come to this place. It was obvious that the matter of Ma Ong making a fortune in the white-robed ghost lake, was already known to many people. Ning Cheng swept out with his spiritual consciousness, and found that the lake was still filled with aquatic essence tendons, but he did not find anything unusual. At this moment the moonlight was not bright, and Ning Cheng also did not find any white-robed men walking around the lake. Ning Cheng jumped into the lake, and the lake water automatically parted on both sides. This lake was not very deep, and with Ning Cheng's current cultivation, it was not impossible for him to directly split the lake in the middle. There were many corpses at the bottom of the lake, some of them apparently had died not long ago. Ning Cheng came to the place where he had found the rusty spear, and at this time he could clearly see it with his spiritual consciousness, but still did not find anything unusual. Just when Ning Cheng was about to leave, a horrifying scene suddenly appeared in the range of his spiritual consciousness. A huge blue eye appeared at the bottom of the lake. Ning Cheng repeatedly checked it with his spiritual consciousness, and was convinced that it was an eye. Moreover, there was only one eye, and this eye was lying at the bottom of the lake, staring at him, with a dark dagger stuck in the eyeball. A dagger nailed to the eye at the bottom of the lake. This scene was just too frightening. It was as if a portrait with only a single eye was laid flat on the bottom of the lake, and then a dagger was stuck in the portrait. But Ning Cheng knew that this was definitely not a portrait. Ning Cheng stared at the eye for just a moment, before he felt a burst of dizziness. When he looked again, the eye had unexpectedly disappeared. A voice appeared in his mind, and he quickly pulled out the dagger, but the mysterious yellow bead in his zifu quickly washed away these distracting thoughts. He was a profound core 8th level cultivator. How could he feel dizzy? This was definitely not an ordinary place. Ning Cheng, who originally wanted to pull out the dagger, changed his mind. The next moment, Ning Cheng rushed out of the white-robed ghost lake. Even if the dagger was good, he did not want it. His strength was still too low. This white-robed ghost lake was a bit strange. After Ning Cheng returned to his residence, he was still thinking about this matter. He felt that those eyes were somewhat familiar to him. It was as if he had seen them somewhere before. Moreover, even that dizziness was somewhat familiar. I understand. After thinking about it clearly, Ning Cheng muttered to himself in shock. He finally understood why those eyes gave him such a familiar feeling. More than a month ago, when he had just entered the Yaluan city, he had taken a look at Princess Man. Princess Man had a cyan-colored crystal dot on her forehead. At that time, when he saw that cyan-colored crystal dot, he also felt a burst of dizziness. Wasn't the shape of the cyan crystal a little like an eye? After understanding this, Ning Cheng immediately guessed that Princess Man had a connection with the white-robed ghost lake. Perhaps even Princess Man herself was not aware of this connection, but at the moment, it would be better for him to not provoke her. Fortunately, he had recovered his cultivation. Otherwise, this place would have been torturous. Ning Cheng shook his head and put aside the matter of the white-robed ghost lake, before reaching out and taking out the rusty spear. His divine sense swept into the long spear, but it was like mud falling into the sea. There was no reaction. Ning Cheng began to refine the long spear, but even after a full hour, the long spear still did not show even half a shred of reaction. With his current cultivation, he could not even refine it. Since he could not refine this long spear, then there were only two possibilities. First, this long spear was not a magical weapon, but rather a high-level material that Ning Cheng had never seen before. If it was not a magical weapon, then of course he would not be able to refine it. Of course, there was another possibility, that was the grade of this long spear was too high, causing Ning Cheng to have no way to refine it. Thinking of this, Ning Cheng took out a high-grade spiritual artifact long blade from his ring, and began to scrape off the rust on the long spear. As the sky turned bright, Ning Cheng finally scraped off all the rust on the long spear in his hands. A dark iron rod appeared in his hands. Ning Cheng was almost convinced that the long spear in his hands was not a high-level magical weapon, but rather an iron rod made from an unknown material. It was just that the front of the iron rod was shaped like a spear, which made him think that it was a long spear. For the time being, I'll just use it as a spear. Ning Cheng was a little disappointed in his heart. What he lacked the most right now was a real high-level offensive magical weapon. The cosmic True Devil Axe had not yet taken shape, as such he could not use it as a magical weapon. The profound break spear was already cracked, moreover as a medium-grade spiritual artifact, it was not enough for Ning Cheng to rely on. Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness swept out, and he saw that Su Yingde and Yin Kongchan were already sitting outside. He immediately opened the door and came out, while at the same time speaking, "Let's go, we will now go to the princess mansion. Perhaps we will never come back here again." Taking Su Yingde and Yin Kongchan away, could also be considered as doing the two of them a favor. Otherwise, if he went to the princess mansion alone, Yin Kongchan and Su Yingde would not be long before they appeared in the Yaluan city's prince's mansion. "Has your spiritual consciousness recovered?" Yin Kongchan looked at Ning Cheng and asked. Ning Cheng casually spoke, "I can barely protect myself, that embracing young god tactic really is a good thing." But in his heart he was despising it, that bullshit embracing young god tactic. In the end he still had to rely on his big brother's mysterious yellow bead. Hearing that Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness had recovered a bit, Su Yingde immediately stood up in surprise, while simultaneously giving out a long sigh. Although she did not speak, her expression clearly showed what she was thinking. "Ah!" Yin Kongchan first gave out a pleasantly surprised cry, but then her face turned a little strange. The next moment she bit her lips and did not speak. When Ning Cheng saw Yin Kongchan's expression, he immediately knew what the reason was. Yin Kongchan's body was indescribably sensitive. Last night his spiritual consciousness had only swept past her. In the case where she did not have any cultivation, she was unexpectedly able to perceive it with just her sixth sense. She knew that he had recovered a part of his spiritual consciousness, and would definitely understand that he was the one who had done it last night. Ning Cheng coughed and spoke, "No need to delay, let's go now." Seeing Ning Cheng walk out, Su Yingde and Yin Kongchan glanced at each other, before they also followed. Ning Cheng had just arrived at the entrance of Princess Man's mansion, when Princess Man already received the news. "Take him to Imperial Brother, just say that Imperial Brother is looking for him for something." Princess Man, who was practicing her swords in the garden, spoke to the guard who came to report in a very impatient manner. "Yes." The guard quickly responded, but hesitated and did not leave. "What's the matter?" Princess Man frowned. The guard did not dare to look up, but still bowed and reported that Ning Cheng did not come alone, his women also came with him. "Ha!" Princess Man exclaimed in surprise, did this fellow know that Imperial Brother was planning to take away his two women? Did he simply bring his women with him? "You go and bring him here, and also pass the news to Imperial Brother." Princess Man placed the short sword in her hand on the wooden table next to her, before sitting down at the table. After the guard went out, she sneered and spoke, "Even if you brought your women here, so what?" Ning Cheng, along with Yin Kongchan and Su Yingde, followed the guard to Princess Man's garden. One had to say that as the princess of Yaluan City, the garden owned by her was really big. Not only was it big, but the fragrance of the flowers was also very enticing. It also had a variety of facilities for rest, exercise, and pleasure. "I heard that the princess was looking for me, so I specifically came here." Ning Cheng walked to a bench and sat down, while looking at Princess Man and spoke in an unhurried manner. Yin Kongchan and Su Yingde sat down on either side of Ning Cheng, but did not speak much. Princess Man's face turned red with anger at Ning Cheng's arrogant attitude, while blue veins popped out on her hands. Not only did Ning Cheng not kowtow to ask for forgiveness, but he even stared at her. This was simply too much. "Your courage is not small, good, good." Princess Man was so angry that her words were incoherent. Ning Cheng simply did not put Princess Man's words in his eyes. He deliberately stared at the crystal point on Princess Man's forehead for a long time. Sure enough, he found the same aura as the eye from the white-robed ghost lake on that crystal point. However, the crystal point on Princess Man's forehead now had almost no effect on him. When he did not have any cultivation, just a glance at it would cause him to feel dizzy, but now, even if he stared at it, it would not affect him at all. At this time, Ning Cheng was already speculating whether Princess Man was the one who had tried to seize the body of the eye from the white-robed ghost lake. The eye at the bottom of the white-robed ghost lake gave Ning Cheng a horrifying feeling, but it also made Ning Cheng feel a kind of dread from the bottom of his heart. Ning Cheng decided not to provoke that eye for the time being, however, since Princess Man had stabbed him twice, he definitely had to get it back. I'm very timid. Last time, because of your order, I still have scars on the place where I stabbed myself. Ning Cheng slowly spoke. Princess Man suddenly grabbed the dagger on the table and coldly stared at Ning Cheng. Dig out your own eyes. Saying that, she once again stared at Su Yingde with an ice-cold gaze. You were the one who pleaded for leniency for him last time. You cut off your tongue, then strip off all your clothes, and let someone lead you to the streets of the Yaluan city. Princess Man casually threw the dagger towards Ning Cheng. At this time, more than a dozen guards quickly ran over and surrounded the Ning Cheng trio. However, when the dagger fell to the ground, it suddenly bounced back with a ding-dang sound. Then the dagger bounced back like an extremely elastic ball, directly piercing through Princess Man's left shoulder. Princess Man panicked and quickly pulled out the dagger. However, she did not seem to be able to hold the dagger tightly, as it once again fell to the ground. Then with another bounce, this time the dagger once again pierced through her right shoulder. Princess Man screamed, as she hurriedly pulled out the dagger. This time, she held it tightly, causing the dagger to not fall to the ground again. However, her hand involuntarily moved, causing the dagger to once again pierce through her left shoulder. Moreover, the position it had pierced through was different from the first time. Ghost. Princess Man's sharp scream could almost be heard throughout the entire Yaluan city. However, her hand involuntarily lifted the dagger and stabbed it towards her own eyes. Bang! A dim light erupted from the crystal point on Princess Man's forehead. The dagger that she had used to stab her eyes was immediately struck by this light, causing it to instantly fall to the ground. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.